Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode number 10. Can you believe it or not? Of the No Punches Pulled Real Boxing Talk podcast show. Don't worry, fear not. Jay's Fight Talk will be with us very shortly. But for now, it's just myself and Mr. Liam Tully. How's things, Liam?
Yeah, all good, mate. Ready to get going. Just recorded Liam's fight night picks, so ready to get into this weekend and all the news we've got as well.
Good stuff. You've had your verbal sparring, then you're ready to rock for another big show here. We've got plenty to uncover, mate. We're obviously going to get into previewing Jack Catterall and Regis Prograis. We'll wait for Jay to come on before we do that. So we may as well start back. We've had a little gloss over last weekend, but we may as well start back at is the Copper Box, wasn't it? Adam Azim and O'Hara Davis. We'll start there. We'll maybe talk about Michael Mickinson fought in Benji, didn't he, on the undercard? That was for the IBO title. Started off okay, but probably got drawn into the wrong fight in the end, didn't he? And ultimately ended up losing wide enough on the cards, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Look, it was. He started well. The first 4 or 5 rounds, he was in control. He was dominating. We thought Mickinson was going to be putting himself in the shot window, and then he faded really badly, didn't he? Benj never really changed his approach. He stayed consistent in what he'd done throughout the whole 12 rounds, but Michael faded. And by 10, 11, 12, you're wondering if he was actually going to be able to pull himself up off his stool as much as anything else. He just, I don't know. It's hard to say because it's not like he was fighting at a breakneck pace early on, but he was having a high output, wasn't he? So it's interesting to see what wasn't quite right there. Did he misjudge the weight cut and that affected him on the night? Did he, exert too much energy early on? I'm sure we'll hear more in the coming weeks. But yeah, he went from looking very comfortable to not out of his depth, but, begging for the final bell very quickly, didn't he, Mickinson?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. So we'll see what happens next for himself. Moving on from that, Anthony Yard for Ralph Vilkans, I think it was. Knocked him down with the first right hand that he threw in the fight. After that, it was fairly laboured, though, Liam, to say the least, by Anthony Yard. He ended up winning a close enough decision in the end. Vilkans actually won quite a few of the last few rounds. I can't remember the exact cards, but I know the Sky verdict card or whatever it was had it by 2 rounds to Yard, and he had a knockdown there. So aside from the knockdown, you're looking at a draw card essentially. I know you can't read too much into a viewer's verdict card, but there's a lot of case study, should we say, for that. But yeah, not the best performance by Yard, was it?
I watched it back on Sunday after you boys telling me, make sure you do so we can talk about it. And it was, look, he comes out, he drops him early on, and you go, right, okay, this is going to be a typical Anthony Yard performance when the level of opponent is D level as opposed to being B, A, world, elite level, etc., etc. And then, I don't know, it's difficult to say. Let's remember, he's been out of the ring since February this year, and he's had a lot of issues away from it. So mentally, that will have been very taxing on him, the issues with Queensbury, Frank Warren, of his own doing. But nonetheless, he's had those issues to deal with. And obviously, he's come out with that classic statement of, I wanted to get the 10 rounds in. It's always good to get the rounds in before you move on to the test. But there's getting 10 rounds in and looking comfortable, as in what Adam Azim done before he finished O'Hara Davis in round 8. Or there's getting 10 rounds in and you're taking clean shots and you're taking punishment.
Yeah, you're eating 6 uppercuts every round.
And that's what Anthony Yard was doing. So, yeah, great. You got the 10 rounds in, but he had a bit of a headache when he was enjoying his Nando's with Azim and O'Hara on Sunday. Like, he wasn't the comfortable 10 rounds he's trying to kid everyone on. And a lot of people now are tired of Anthony Yard. They're tired of either having incredible fights or shit fights. There's no in between. His best win on his record is Lyndon Arthur. No disrespect to Lyndon Arthur. He can either blow really hot, like he did in the first fight against Anthony, or he can blow really cold, like he did in the second fight and got stopped in the 3rd round, I think it was. We need to see Buatsi now. I don't care how we do it. I don't care how much money him or Ben Shalom needs to give Frank Warren for the severance, for the divorce. Just let it happen. Get that fight happen. And if we can avoid it going to Saudi so that Boxer can have a big British main event the first half of next year as well, that would be fantastic. But I think we know with Boxer's announcement, which we're going to move on to later, where that fight is likely to go, don't we?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it would sell the life out of the O2 Arena, wouldn't it? The Yard against Boazzi. To be honest with you, though, Yard didn't do a great job of selling his chances in the fight against Ralph Wilkans on Saturday, if we're being honest. But because Yard, in fairness to him, his past record against knockover jobs. So we're saying that's probably a bit harsh on Wilkans. Actually, he was decent, and he offered quite a bit against Yard on Saturday. So that's probably been a bit harsh to him, but he normally puts him away in a couple of rounds, normally because the opposition's not good enough to be in there. With an evening, Luca. Thanks for tuning in, man.
But that's the point. We're so used to this level of opponent, Anthony Yard, on Saturday. Again, no disrespect to men, but this is what it was. Anthony Yard, I think, in his career has probably had more TBA opponents announced initially than he's had actual proper opponents there in front of him. Beterbiev, Kovalev, Arthur, Lindsay Arthur twice. The 4 I can definitely think of where his names. I wonder how many other times his opponent's actually been known before the week of the fight. Like, you're 33, you're now 28, 29 fights into your career. You're not a 6-7 fight novice anymore. Come on, we need to be seeing more from you, especially against this level of opponent.
Yeah, most definitely. I hope we get the Boazzi fight next. I'm not entirely convinced. This time last week, as the show was ending, we're talking about Boazzi being a Queensbury fighter. That rumor seemed to fade very quickly, considering he was at the Boxer show this weekend with Ben Shalom and et al. But I don't know.
I'm tired of Anthony Yard. If he came back in 1 or 2 rounds, I'd be waxing lyrical and saying that's what he was meant to do. Now we see the big fights. Instead, it feels a bit Chris Eubank Jr. like in a different kind of way. Anthony Yard potentially has more potential than Eubank from what we've seen from him, but 2 very similar career paths. They either do that or they do that, and there's no in between. And it's tiring, especially with the quality of fights we've had thanks to Turkey and Riyadh season over the last 12 months.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see what happens there. Just while we wait for Jay and we wait for the crowd to build up a little bit, we'll go Azim and O'Hara then. Obviously, big up Håkan Johansson. Thanks very much for joining us, Håkan. Hope you're well, my friend. While we wait for Jay, O'Hara retired then by Adam Azim, stopped him in the 8th round. I'm on a roll, actually. I called Nick Ball in the 10th round. I didn't call round 9, but I was very close to getting back-to-back big domestic UK knockout predictions right then. But I called 9 and Azim stopped him in 8. We've talked enough about the fight, so I'm not going to break the fight down. But Dalton Smith and Adam Azim. I saw them. McGuigan and Azim were on Sky Sports podcast earlier. I don't know if you saw the clips or whatever it is. It's like, Barry's giving it stacks about the Dalton Smith. Oh, we can fight Paro. We can fight. Who else did he say? Jose Valenzuela, he said. And then,
Harlem Eubank.
Yeah, Harlem Eubank. Who wants to see the Harlem Eubank fight when the Dalton Smith fight sat right there? Just take the fight. Azim, in the heat of the moment after the fight, was very vocal, which is good. That's what we wanted to see. So there's nowhere to go and nowhere to hide. Now, you've had the step up. The step up was O'Hara Davis. Yeah, not a great O'Hara Davis. Didn't show much ambition. Didn't look like he wanted to be in there. But, fact is, his scalp's there. There you go. Håkan called the 7th round. I called the 9th. So somewhere in the middle of our predictions, Håkan was the real result. No doubt someone's going to crawl out the woodwork in a minute and say, yeah, I called Azim to stop him in 2 minutes 32 of round number 8 or something like that. Probably Jay's Fight Talk, actually, when he comes on.
Yeah, Jay's got that loaded up, mate. He has.
Jay's got that one. But yeah, Liam, as a fan of the sport, if that doesn't happen next, after Dalton Smith inevitably fights Fernandez for the European title, probably in Monaco, as we've been hearing, that doesn't happen next for me. Something's gone wrong there. Don't marinate it. We've seen too many fights fall through with marinating over the years. Get the fight signed, get the fight done, and let's see who's not number 1 in Britain, because that probably relies with Jack Catterall right now, but, certainly a solid number 2.
Mate, I'm at a point where I didn't want to see the Harlem Eubank fight when it was being spoken about to take place June 15th. Don't get me wrong, it would have been an interesting fight, but none of us were calling for Harlem Eubank and Adam Azim, were we? It kind of seemed a match of convenience because we knew the day after that.
They faced them off to get rid of the Dalton Smith fight. Let's just call it for what it is.
Hey, that's what I was about to say. Done that face-off on the Sunday night. The Monday morning, they vacate the European title 90 minutes before purse bids are due to take place. That tells you everything you need to know. If the fight doesn't happen next, I've had enough, mate. I've genuinely had enough. And it will fall on not just Boxer, it will fall on Adam Azim, it will fall on McGuiggans. It will be embarrassing at this point because you've made all this noise. You've promised that, you can't fight now because you vacated the belts. You're allowing Dalton to have his fight. Fantastic. Make the fight. If you're saying that the reason you vacated the belt was because of your injury, even though we know it wasn't because you were in the ring 12 hours before you vacated, make the fight. Show you're better than Dalton Smith. Show that you are this incredible talent that everyone is now waxing lyrical about after Saturday. There's no hiding places anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll maybe get more into that a little bit later. We'll get Jay's thoughts on it. Joseph's joined us. Thanks very much, Joseph, for tuning in. We'll get into the Catterall Prograis preview shortly, but we may as well go here now because he said Tim, referring to Tim Tszyu, obviously got cooked too, saw that happening. Well, myself and Liam were up on the watch along in the early hours of Sunday morning. We knew it was going to be a good fight. We called that before the fight. We knew Murtazaliev, is coming in undefeated, heavy hands, but not really fought at the level. Tszyu was a heavy favourite for the fight, to be honest. We were calling it, Liam, weren't we, after the first round? We knew something was going down. You could have fought the first round in a phone booth, couldn't you? It was very fun, actually. But, that left hook that Murtazaliev caught Tszyu with, it reminded me of, and it was a quicker result that he got over Tszyu than Andy Ruiz got over Joshua. But, just one of them concussive punches that Tszyu never really got over it. He could have probably been pulled out after being down 3 times in the second round, but he went out for the third, got dropped again, and that was all she wrote. Big upset on paper, at least, anyway.
Yeah, look, first things first, before we talk about Murtazaliev and Tszyu, I need to get this off my chest. That referee in that fight, if anyone can say his name in the comment, because I haven't been able to find it before I come live here, his duty of care to Tim Tszyu was not there at all. Okay, you gave him a chance after the first knockdown. You had multiple opportunities before he was on his ass a second time to stop him. You didn't. The same after the second, before the third, you didn't stop him. You encountered him and were going to allow him to carry on after the fourth knockdown. If the towel didn't come across, I really do believe.
What did you want to see? Yeah.
He was going to allow it to carry on. What did he want to see? Tim Tszyu's head decapitated from his shoulders. That's the Florida State Athletic Commission to deal with. Let's move away from that. Murtazaliev, we knew he was a puncher, but everyone said Tim Tszyu is a cut above. Tim Tszyu is the top end of world class. Murtazaliev still has stuff to learn. He's still coming through. He quite literally took a sledgehammer to that. It doesn't matter if he's still got things to learn. When he cocks you with that left hand, that's all she wrote. But Tim Tszyu's game plan was wrong. His chin was in the air. His hands were by his side. He was rushing in. Didn't look like, his hindsight's a wonderful thing, similar to everyone about AJ after the Ruiz first fight, when they said AJ didn't look himself. Tim Tszyu didn't look himself. But the difference is he made no attempts to make adjustments. We could see that left hand in the first round. I think watching us back, mate, we called the left hand narrowly missing Tim Tszyu 2 or 3 times in that first round. Mm-hmm. We knew it was coming. We knew what the fight was going to be. And it just, Murtazaliev is a problem. Let's hope Fondora and Crawford don't hold this division up too much, doing whatever they're going to do before they come together, because Murtazaliev against either Crawford, Fondora, Spence, if Spence comes through against him, it's fights we want to see happen now, and it's intriguing to see how he does as well. He could be a real problem at 154. Yeah,
definitely. There's been a bit made, and I want to make a point on the bad matchmaking on Tim Tszyu's behalf. Now, I completely disagree with it. Sergio Mora had a big rant about it, and it was great matchmaking on Tim Tszyu's behalf that they manoeuvred him into a world title shot against who was perceived the weakest champion on paper in the division. It was fantastic matchmaking. You just got shocked by a huge underdog, and it happens. But the matchmaking was completely fine and benefit. If you've maneuvered your guy into being a heavy odds-on favorite to win a world title fight against a current champion, then your team have match made it perfectly. Just because he didn't perform on the night doesn't mean it was bad matchmaking, in my opinion, anyway.
Look, mate. 70% of the people I've seen slagging this off as horrendous matchmaking. Why on earth did you not give Tim Tszyu a comeback fight?
Taking him before the fight.
With the same people, not even that, with the same people that when No Limit Boxing came out with this announcement, I think it was June, July time, were standing up and applauding it. Oh, well done. You've maneuvered him into this position against the weakest world champion. typical bandwagon crap at the end of the day. Oh, if Tim Tszyu won, it would have been the best thing in the world. One of the best things we've ever seen. Just because he's lost, now it's like, oh, no one's looking after him. Oh, he sold his soul to PBC and Al Heyman. I've seen that a few times, and that's hilarious in itself. It was the right move to make because Tim Tszyu didn't want to drop down too far, did he? After losing to Fondora in a fight that he was competitive in and won on one of the judges' scorecards. Absolutely. No one knew Mercedes Ali was going to do that. Mercedes Ali have won the world title against a B-level opponent, and he took his moment, and he came into this as a up-and-coming hungry fighter, but still didn't think he was world level. Look what he's done on Saturday. There's no denying he's world level now, but we didn't know that before the fight. Don't be an after fight. Speak with your chest as loudly as you did before as you are after. I was confident Tim Tszyu was going to win. So were you, Sam, and me and you both owned it on the watch along afterwards, and we gave Mercedes Aliev his flowers. Let's not call out bad matchmaking and all that other bollocks just because it now doesn't fit the rhetoric or the narrative that your broadcaster wants to drive. That's not how it works.
1,000,000%. Jay's Fight Talk joined us. How are we, Jay?
Good evening, boys. I'm good. You two all right?
Yeah, doing well, mate. Doing well. We just covered last weekend's fights so far. We're now going to move on to. We won't cover Skull and Shishkin in case anyone's going to pull me up on the fact that I've glossed over it. But there's nothing to really talk about there. Joseph's mentioned here. Prograis should fight Matthias. Not a fan of the Catterall fight yet. And we'll move into this now. I guess it's a good segue for us to move into Regis Prograis and Jack Catterall because that's where the bulk of this week's show is going to come from. What are your thoughts on the matchmaking, guys? And based on Joseph's comment,
look, I've just had this debate with Mr. Neutral over on my Liam's Fight Night picks, which you can see over on STBX tomorrow lunchtime. It's phenomenal matchmaking. Regis Prograis is a 2-time world title challenger. He's held a WBC Diamonds belt for what that's worth at another time as well. Only lost by 1 round to Josh Taylor in the World Boxing Super Series final. So if you go after that narrative, he was nearly an undisputed champion. Okay, he got schooled by Devin Haney last December, but there's no shame in getting schooled by Devin Haney because we know Devin Haney's a very technical fighter. But he's fought at a much higher level than Jack Catterall. And now he's being brought over as a bit of cannon fodder for Jack Catterall, but he's not. He's a live dog in the fight. He can punch. He can turn this into an absolute nightmare for Eddie and Jack for all their plans they have for next year. It's shy of it being a world title shot. It is the best fight that was available for Jack Catterall for me. And I give credit to Regis Prograis and his team for taking it. Not only taking it, but coming over to the UK. And I give massive props to Jack Catterall, Jamie Moore, Nigel Travis and that team for putting Jack in that position, because if Jack loses to Regis Prograis, there's no world title fight next. He's now got to have a conversation about how he rebuilds. There is a very little gain, very little reward, but not a lot of gain in this fight here to Jack Catterall. Whereas Regis Prograis wins it, he keeps his career alive. But it's a career that, for me, still has potential. Just because you've been schooled by Devin Haney doesn't mean your career's over. He showed it time and time again what he can do, and he's a very, very live and dangerous opponent on Saturday night.
Jay?
I mean, yeah. Jack Catterall is, nobody watches him unless he's boxing somebody else worth watching. And I'm gutted for him. I mean, I've been a fan of his from forever. I think I first saw him boxing 2013 on an Amir Khan undercard, and I met him in the stands, and he was a lovely lad and, really respectful and polite. And unfortunately, he's got about as much marketability as Housebrick.
That's the problem. Jay, me and you are big on this. Me and you talk about this all the time. If you've got no knockout power and you're not chinning people, and you don't talk, look at Floyd. We always run back to Floyd, but he's just the best example of it. Yeah, he didn't have much power and he wasn't chinning people, but he sold his fight before he got in the ring. The ring was the fight was almost the afterthought when Floyd, especially when he turned to Money Mayweather, when he made all his money at the end of his career. Whereas if you're not a great talker, and Jack's a lovely guy, we all know that, and we root for him. I love Jack Catterall. We all do. He's proper stand-up, nice person, really good, solid fighter. But he doesn't knock people out, and he's not a good talker. So ultimately, you're not going to sell, and it's just the reality of the situation. Hardcore boxing fans like ourselves enjoy watching Jack Catterall fight, but to the widespread audience, to your casual fan, to your people who tune in after the football on a Saturday, it's just not gonna work.
The problem with Jack is not making people want to watch him. Now, going back to Floyd, people wanted to watch Floyd for a couple of reasons. Either like myself, because they loved his boxing ability, his skill set, or they want to watch him get beat, right? So you've got to either be knocking people dead or, and I hate saying this, talking shit on the mic, you know, and he's too nice for his own good, because ultimately the likes of us are not going to, we're few and far between. So you're not going to sell pay-per-views in big amounts having just boxing fans watching. You want the casuals, the lads from work that are tuning in to see this killer Jack Catterall fight. And, you know, when I said he's got as much marketability as a house brick, that's not me dissing him and trying to be disrespectful, because I'm a massive fan of his. But unfortunately, he's just not got enough about him. And I can't understand why Sam Jones, who's a mouthpiece in himself, isn't doing the talking for him. Why is he not doing it for him? He did it with Joe Joyce. The amount of shit he talked for Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is not a shit talker, is it?
He got involved in the Taylor fight, didn't he? But, you know,
he got in massive fight by talking shit.
Yeah. But no offense, you could have pulled in any geezer off the street and said, did you hear about Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor? They're fighting again. Go talk some shit on the mic for Catterall. Anyone could have done that. And that's not disrespecting Sam Jones. That's the reality. He's very quiet in this fight. And when I made my rant initially talking about Prograis as a fighter and that he is a credible name, he does a lot for Jack Catterall if Jack Catterall beats him on Saturday night, because he now is showing him to an American audience as well. Okay, he still has the marketability problem, and Jack Catterall wins this fight by unanimous decision or Regis Prograis stops him. That's the two ways this fight goes because of how the fight's going to play out.
I'd agree with that.
It's going to be one of those two things. So Jack Catterall isn't going to endear himself to an American audience by boxing for 12 rounds to beat Regis Prograis. That's the reality. But by beating Regis Prograis in a way and then getting on the mic, even if it's Sam Jones that does it, for God's sake, and say, we are now coming after any of you fools that are holding a belt of this division in the first half.
I've literally just said the same. I've said what I want to see from Jack is a good performance or a great performance, and then I want him on the top rope screaming, like Tony Bellew did with David A. Because we all laughed at that, but ultimately that's what's made Tony Bellew more money than he could ever have imagined, by kicking the turnbuckle, screaming at David A, spitting his gum shield out. I'm not saying Jack Catterall would do that, but do something.
You need a name. You need a name.
Call Ennis a pussy or Matisse a pussy. Say that they're all scared of me. You know, you're all scared of me. Teofimo Lopez.
Do you know what he needs to do, Jay? Do you know what he needs to do? Because this is the route he'll go, in my opinion. Teo's going to move up to 147 at some point. So that WBO will become available. But I think the easiest fight to make is the in-house fight with Liam Power and Richardson Hitchens are fighting in December. They're both matchroom fighters.
So they were on TalkSport either this morning or yesterday morning. I was driving in and they replayed an interview that he did. No, I think it was yesterday morning. Anyway, he was on Jim White and Simon Jordan, and they were doing the nicey and talking about the fight and, you know, what's coming up and the usual. And then Simon Jordan just said, right, Jack, you know, we want to see you in big fights. Who's next? And he said, I want Liam Parrow. So I think they've already told him that, you know, should Parrow come through, or Hitchens, but he named Parrow. So they've obviously discussed that. Maybe they're in negotiations for that fight, but that seems to be the route that he's going down. Because Jack could end up, and I really don't want this for him, right? Because as much negativity as you think I'm spouting, I'm a massive fan of his, and I'd love to see him be a world champion and dominate. But if it doesn't go to plan on Saturday night for Jack, he could end up just being out in the wilderness, because he's good enough that people will not want to fight him.
The king of the who needs
it. Fight him when they have to. Like Prograis wouldn't have took this fight unless this Catterall would have been his mandatory if he had a belt. He's took this to get back in the mix because he's coming over to his backyard like he did with Josh Taylor, you know, and arguably could have won that fight.
Almost the last chance saloon for Regis. He's 35.
But
he's just
on the flip side of that, believe it or not, this could be last chance saloon for Jack Catterall in terms of world title fights. And
if Catterall loses this, he's back down with Adam Azim and Dalton Smith.
And I would not want to see him. I'd like to see Azim fight the loser of this. I'd like to see Azim fight the loser of this fight. I really would.
I mean, Jack Catterall is already the king of
things there.
Jack Catterall is already the king of the Who Needs Him club. That doesn't matter. Yeah. He wins on Saturday night. He maintains the undisputed king of the Who Needs Him club title. Yeah. That's the fact.
The lineal Who Needs Him champion.
What's on Saturday night is just enough for the top 10 boxers across the world to go, oh, you've just lost to Regis Prograis. No. You're now back down the list. And like you say, back down to the level at this point would be soul destroying. This is his third main event in a row. He's done Liverpool. Go on, mate.
Go on.
I was going to say, his third main event in a row. He's done Liverpool, he's done Leeds, he's now doing his home city of Manchester. He's not going to go from that, even if he's still main events. He's not going to go back to the smaller arenas. No disrespect, fighting the likes of Adam Azim, etc.
To the marketability. So let's use Josh Warrington as an example, right? Josh Warrington, fans, he'd fill out the Leeds Arena or Manchester. He gets, say, 5,000 to 10,000 tickets, right, of his own. He gets those kind of nights, irrespective of whether he's in title fights or not. Yep. And I'm not saying Jack's not popular, but I know he's not that popular where he will fit. I mean, look, I've had a look today. I can buy a ringside ticket for the Saturday, right? That's unheard of. That's unheard of. I've been to countless fights at Manchester, right? And they always have to get your ringsides nice and early, either off a fighter or off a ticket site. And you can buy tickets there. We knew that last week when they did the open workout. So the problem for Jack is if it does not go right for him on Saturday night, this could even happen with a win. If he labours to a win, right, he could end up in the doldrums because he's not filling out arenas for anything other than big opponents. If it's not a big opponent, then, you know, I'm sorry. And again, it sounds like I'm pissing on him, and I'm not. I'm a fan. I'd love to see him chin Prograis and scream for the champions and get the Paro fight and on from there. But I'm also sick of Sam Jones moaning about what happened with Josh Taylor. It's 2 years ago now. Move on. You fought him since and beat him. He didn't win the titles. You didn't win all the belts. You're not the champion. So you've got to make the best of what you've got now. And he needs to go out there on Saturday and perform. He's got to do it. Has to be a career-defining performance on Saturday night or nothing. Anything less than that, than a big performance, might not be good enough.
Yeah, I put out a tweet earlier that I asked for people's feedback on the. I effectively said, does anybody see anything other than a Jack Catterall wide unanimous decision on Saturday? Because that's the obvious. Of course, Jay's Fight Talk's got something on his mind. I'll come to that in a second. But, you know, that's kind of the universal call of the fight, isn't it? Jack Catterall, wide unanimous decision. And quite a few people told me to think Prograis will chin him. And then quite a few people bizarrely told me that they think Jack Catterall will stop him. But there's nothing to suggest Jack Catterall's going to. Regis Prograis, correct me if I'm wrong, has never been stopped.
No.
He's never been stopped. So,
yeah, I'm not sure he's ever been knocked down, has he?
No, Haney had him down. And Haney's not a big puncher in fairness, but neither's Jack. Like Jack Catterall's not gonna lay Regis Prograis out. If he did, it'd be a big surprise. Like, you know, I don't really see where the KO picks are coming in for.
I said that, Jack, not me.
Yeah, look, I respect Jack, and he's a great fighter, but he's got no power. He doesn't. That shot he hit Josh Taylor with in round 11 in the rematch. If he had any power, Josh Taylor would have been unconscious. He absolutely nettled Josh Taylor. What clean up? Do you remember the one I'm talking about? Yeah. Left hand straight over the top. Taylor did back off because it was the perfect shot. It actually reminded me of remember when George Groves dropped the Cobra in the first round when he was just square on. He walked right onto it. And Frost didn't know where he was and still got up and carried on because he's an absolute warrior and won. It was one of them kind of shots. And if Catterall had any kind of power, he would have knocked Josh Taylor. I'd be gobsmacked and, you know, bookmark this, you know, come and hit me up on Saturday night when Jack Catterall flatlines Regis Prograis in a couple of rounds. But yeah, just do not see that at all. But go on, Jay. I know you're itching to.
No, it was just because I obviously answered your question, didn't I? We're all not us, but they're all talking about what's next, what's after this, what's he going to do after, who's next. And I've got I don't think Jamie and Nigel and them and Jack as such will take their eye off the ball and look past it. But then how can they not? They've all done interviews and Sam Jones has done interviews and we're talking about what fights to make after for Jack, like it's a given. Right? And I think that Regis Prograis is in a like you said, Liam, is in a it's a pinnacle. It's a pivotal. Sorry, it's a pivotal fight for him, right? If he loses this fight, where does he go? Where does he go? Where does he go? He might retire because he's made a few quid. You know, he's got his faculties, his health thing, and is he going to want to make that climb? I mean, 2 years ago, he was saying that he struggled to make 140 and he was going up to 147. I know he's got a new nutritionist and, you know, he seems to have
he's never shredded, is he, Catterall? He's never like, you know, he's in good shape, but he's never.
No,
like...
I'm on about
Prograis.
Right. No, he's fleshy sometimes, Prograis.
No, but he's always said for the past couple of years that 2 years ago that 140 was done for him. He's struggling too much. Got a new nutritionist and he's still at 140. I don't think he's big enough for 147 in terms of stature. I just think he's perfect for 140.
He's not good enough either. He's not good enough.
You don't. No, not at that level. He's not big enough a puncher to keep people off. So I'm just worried that that Team Catterall are overlooking and underestimating what Prograis got left. And I think if Jack's not on it and Prograis is on it plus some, so he has the fight of his life, then we're in for a shock. And I've got a funny feeling we could see Prograis win on points, like a split or a majority or, you know, something like that. I think
Regis would do well to get a decision. I'll be honest with you. I think
Regis doesn't get a decision over it.
He'd have to get a knockout to get a draw, I think. Hawkan said ticket sales in the UK have gone down after Riyadh season. They definitely have. Both upcoming Birmingham shows have sold bad. So he's talking about Shabazz Massoud and Liam Davis, which is in 2 weeks or a week and a half. And Sonny Edwards against Yafai, isn't it, at the end? I think, Hawkan, you said you'll go into that one, aren't you? I agree with that. Lucas said he hasn't got a particularly eye-catching style. As Jay says, the moaning's getting boring. It is. Evening, DJ Pat. Thanks for joining us, my friend. Catterall will take this, but we'll go the distance. Never say never on Regis. He's at a crossroads. That's a fact. Yeah, that's the safe play, Pat.
Let's timestamp it then. Jay's Fight Talk at 32 minutes and 10 seconds picks Regis Prograis by split decision.
Right. Let's go. Yeah. It's out there now. But just one more point going back to Jack quickly, and I'm similar to Jay. I'm a big Jack Catterall fan. I'm not bashing him at all. But my point is he's not marketable at all. Why do people know Jack? Why do people know Jack Catterall? Oh, he's that fighter that got robbed in Scotland.
Josh Taylor.
Yeah, they know him because of Josh Taylor. He is one of Britain's best fighters. Let's not mince it about. He is one of Britain's best top 5 fighters.
There's only you of the three of us that minces, Liam.
No need, is there, mate? But he is there with a chance of doing something. You're fine, mate. He's there with a chance of doing something on Saturday. But if he doesn't make a statement, if he does lose, who's going to want to fight him? There's even Adam Azim and Dalton Smith won't want to fight him. That's the reality. They'll look, oh, what do I get from fighting Jack Catterall? Oh, he was the nearly man at world level, but he never done it, did he? Oh, how many tickets does he sell? 3,000? There's no upside.
Like,
he's not popular outside of Chorley. That's the.
Who were we talking about last week? That Eubank Jr. You know, Eubank Jr. is famous for his losses more than his wins. Do you know what I'm saying? Like his
Yard. We're talking about Anthony Yard.
I made the comparison to Yard.
That's it. Sorry, Anthony Yard. Anthony Yard dines out on performance. Didn't he do well against Kovalev? Didn't he do well against Beterbiev? He got stopped in both, ultimately. He hung around for, 11 and 9 rounds or something, was it? I can't remember, but, you know, and I'd hate to see Jack Catterall's career be defined by getting robbed against Josh Taylor, because he's better than that. He's a lot better than that. He proved that in the rematch. I know Josh Taylor seemed to have one of the quickest declines I've ever seen in my life. Josh Taylor went from the man to, I'm not going to say
killing himself to make 140. Just killed himself too many times to make 140, and it just caught up with him.
Showed because, you know, I had him down to beat the shit out of Teofimo Lopez, and that fight wasn't even close. Teo boxed his head off.
Teo's so hot and cold. But Josh Taylor, seems to be that he should probably retire, in my opinion.
Quick. But what I'm getting at is Jack Catterall's got to have the performance of his life. I think anything other than a stoppage will be underwhelming for a lot of people at the weekend, and that's going to be tough to do.
Unless he kind of 12 nils him kind of thing, like Haney did to him, that would be impressive. But Hawkins got him winning a close split. Sorry, Liam. Lucas said he could liven up a bit every interview. Hardly says anything. We'd better off not doing them. Yeah, reminds me of Jay's Fight Talk. Actually, he could liven up a bit. Sits on the fence, doesn't he? Too much, Luca Jay. Sorry, Liam.
No, mate. You made a point about Jack winning this fight 12-0. Now, there's ways of winning the fight 12-0. There's looking explosive, maybe getting 1 or 2 knockdowns and making a statement. Yeah, or there's, coasting to a 12-rounder where people are looking at train times home after 5 or 6 rounds. And
are you going to put yourself in danger?
He's going to have to.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Are you going to risk yourself in order to put on a performance?
There's no ifs and buts and maybes about it. If he doesn't, I don't think a split decision is made. A split decision win, right? We will not see Jack Catterall in a fight for at least another 12 months. I'm telling you now, mate. They're not going to want us to put him back out there because
there's no money in him as well. There's no money in the Jack Catterall.
The show's sold poorly. I dread to think how many people are going to be tuning in. And again, I sound like I'm a hater, and I'm not. I wish I wasn't having this conversation about.
You're just a realist, mate. You're being a realist.
His skill set is unmatched, mate. He's one of the best naturally talented boxers this country's got. And unfortunately, he just hasn't got the mouth to match. He's just not a shit talker. He doesn't necessarily have to be a shit talker. He's just not very, again, without sounding disrespect, he's not charismatic, is he?
No. He's not. This is the thing. We will sit here all day long, wax lyrical, and all of the superlatives you could use over someone like Jack Catterall, because as boxing hardcores and nerds, we absolutely love the sweet science and what you can do. But even we get bored listening to him talk. Like Lucas said up above, every interview's the same. He doesn't have any. He's not personable. He's got about as much personality as a Bacardi Breezer. There's absolute fucking.
Why are they not? Is there not? I know I might have found a business for the no punches pull lads here, but Sam Jones, I mean, you're a charismatic guy, and Sam can talk and shit talk and banter and stuff. Why are they not doing, like they do with footballers? Why don't they do media training with fighters? You'd have thought they'd do it now.
To be fair, in Jack's defence, I'm only playing devil's advocate a bit here. He had a bit of spice in him in the Taylor build-ups and stuff, but that was personal.
That was
no, I get it. It was personal, but
it was forced on him. It was always reactive, not proactive. It was reactively. It was reacting to something Taylor said or did. It was never Jack initiating shit talk, or not even shit talk, just saying something other than yes, no, and maybe on the microphone, because that's pretty much all you get from him, really.
Uh-huh.
He had to buy it back. He's getting called Simple Jack by Josh Taylor. He brought him the colouring pens and books, didn't he? Like if he didn't snap back then, we'd all be saying he's got no backbone.
Josh Taylor can talk, though. Josh Taylor's a Scotsman. He can give as much as he can take.
But we're looking forward to it as boxing diehards. The 6,000 if they're lucky in the co-op. But
we'll watch. It's going to be good. It's going to be 6. Look, how many fans? How many fans does this co-op live arena hold?
26,
22, 23. I heard is it's bigger than the Manchester Arena, is it not?
Yeah, it's bigger. It's bigger than Manchester, so
there'll be a lot of black quilts.
There's going to be some black curtains.
Look, 23,500. I've just checked. 23,500. If there's more than 4,000 people in there, I'll be gobsmacked. I will be gobsmacked. Too. Now, the reason the fight says because Eddie Hearn got a big juicy site fee to hold this fight there back in August, and it stayed there. Yeah, Hawkins should back me up. Yeah, 23. If there's more than let us know in the chat as well, guys. What's your prediction on the attendance for this fight? 4,000.
I'm going 6. I'm being a bit more ambitious. I think there'll be, and how many of those will be freebies?
They've got Manchester fighters, Michael Gomez Jr.'s on the card, Campbell Hatton's on the undercard. There's Manchester lads on the card and stuff. But yeah, anyway, it doesn't really matter on the attendance. It makes no relevance to this conversation. But will Jack go on and win a world title in your boy's opinion?
Yes,
because that's a good question.
Yeah. If he gets the Parro or Hitchens fight, yes.
Yes.
I'm not convinced he beats Liam Parro.
I am.
In fact, who wins Liam Parro and Richardson Hitchens?
Parro. Parro stops him inside 8 rounds.
I like Liam Parro. Puerto Rico Paro.
Let's just make a comparison. Let's just make a comparison for a second. Everything Liam Paro does in the ring and then does on the mic is what's missing from Jack Catterall. He delivers in the ring, doesn't do it on the mic. That's how Liam Paro got himself out to Puerto Rico to face Matthias. He was big on the mic. He said he believes he can go and do it. So he got given the opportunity and he actually done it. That's how you market yourself. That's how you sell yourself, especially at fights coming from Australia, a country that isn't a fighting sports hotbed on the whole. I mean, we can name fighters that have come from there, but it's not as big as it is over here in the UK, for example. He marketed himself perfectly. Eddie Hearn said, right, is your opportunity, go and do it. And now not only is he a world champion, he is also, signed with Matchroom, who is worldwide one of the most well-known promoters of the last 5-6 years, aren't they? So he's done it perfectly. It's everything Jack Catterall should have done for his own career. There's no reason why he couldn't afford Matthias. But there's no profitability or marketability in them, as we keep saying.
The thing with Jack is, I think Jack would fight them all. Catterall has to step up a level, show what he can do. His fight against Regis, he has to show that he has it in his boxing, but just still hope they can live up to the fight. Yeah, because he's got good potential, Pat, to be an absolute snooze fest, in my opinion, this fight on Saturday. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. I can see ways in which it's not, but I have to agree with you, Pat, as well. I actually think Liam Paro beats Jack Catterall right now, based off what I've seen.
Yeah.
I do. I think I think he'd walk him down and stop him. Honestly, I think Liam Paro is criminally underrated. He really is a good fighter. Watch what he does to Richardson Hitchens in December.
Yeah. If he comes through against Richardson Hitchens, then he can't be underrated or ignored any longer, because he would have done Matthias and Hitchens back to back.
He did the devil's work. He did the devil's work against Matthias. Nobody wanted to go anywhere near him. And he went into his backyard, into that atmosphere, and completely schooled him.
But no one's wanted to go near Hitchens either. Hitchens has been on this cusp for a while, trying to get an opportunity, and he hasn't. Liam Paro's been told it's happening as his first defence. But,
is he mandatory?
I think they've manoeuvred it to be mandatory.
No,
I
think Hitchens have been sat there with the IBF for a while, and then Matthias suddenly isn't the champion anymore, and they've sorted that one out. But anyway, irrelevant of that, Catterall Prograis happening this weekend. I see it being wide to Catterall on the cards. I don't think I think Prograis passed his sell-by date, to be honest with you, if I'm being honest. And Jack Catterall's a better boxer than him. I think it's that simple. I don't know if it's too slow, Regis. It's too slow.
How old's Regis?
35.
Right, so he's 3 or 4 years older than Jack Catterall, and we're saying he's passed it. He's lost to Devin Haney and arguably lost to Josh Taylor. I don't see what you're seeing to say he's passed it myself. I think
he didn't lose to Devin Haney. He got completely taken apart by Devin Haney.
But Devin Haney does that to most people, doesn't he? Really, we're discrediting that off the back of what happened in the Ryan Garcia fight. Really, before that, Devin Haney was the truth, the dream, the man. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just think that somebody who can box like Catterall can, and Devin Haney's a better boxer than Jack Catterall, of course he is, but there's a blueprint there for me to beat Regis Prograis.
Yeah, that's my point. There's a blueprint to beat Regis Prograis. I don't echo Sam's sentiments of saying he's a past it fighter, but I just feel Jack Catterall's time is now, and I hope, and he realizes that he's got to seize on being the first boxing main event at this new arena. He's got to seize on DAZN, Matchroom, and everything people are putting into him, and now's the time for him to do it. And I think Saturday night will be the statement step up we've been wanting to see for Jack Catterall for a couple of years now.
Okay, Hawkeye reckons it'll be 9,000. Just a few seats left in most sections, but not many. And VIP for £500 is sold out. Okay, maybe it's.
I'm not so sure. I had a look at buying VIPs this morning, and I could reserve 4.
Maybe there's been an influx this afternoon.
I mean, again, it sounds like I'm shitting on Catterall. I want it sold out to the rafters, and I want him to put on the performance of his life. I'm just giving the facts that, he's not a massive draw, and he's got a style that is arguably perfect for winning fights, but shit for selling fights. And it's for me, it's that simple. His skill set is up there for me. He's absolutely awesome to watch. As a boxing fan, as a fight fan, somebody that just tunes in every now and again, it's a bit like Sky Nicholson. It's rinse and repeat. He just outboxes everybody pretty easy. Once he finds his range, he's barely in any trouble. And that, for me, I'd love to see him stand in pocket and trade. I'd love it. Honest to God, I would.
I'd love him to as well. And I think Regis Prograis can bring that fight out of him. It's not like Josh Taylor, who can be very cute and box on the back foot and make it quite a standoff almost. Regis Prograis will be coming forward from the first bell. Like we said, he will be of the mindset that he could win the fight 12-0 but lose 7-5 on the scorecards. That is the reality. He will think he needs a knockout and he needs it clean and effective. So he's not going to be difficult to find for Jack Catterall, but the issue there is they're not falling into the traps that may be set for him to then end up on his arse himself and, you know, as we said, lose all the momentum that he's having other people generate for him, shall we say.
So Hawkan said, Jay, that the 350s are left, but the 500s must be sold out. So it must be just one other side of the VIP. Timothy's joined us. Thanks very much for tuning in. Prograis knows he's finished after the Haney fight. Is he cashing himself out potentially? He'll be getting paid nicely to be over.
No, come on, Regis Prograis isn't a fighter to take a page.
He's a fighter, man. That guy's a fighter. He's a dog, mate. He's coming here to win. He ain't coming here to roll over. Let me tell you that. He's a dog. And remember, Prograis, split decision. Prograis, Parro, this time next year. It'll have been done and dusted.
32 minutes, 10 seconds.
That's the one.
Right, boys. Me and Jay giving our predictions. You can find Liam's tomorrow over on Steve Talks Boxing X for his Liam's Fight Night Pick Show. Undercard, couple of fights really that are worth talking about. I think the chief support. Reece Bellotti defending his British and Commonwealth Super Featherweight Championships against Michael Gomez Jr., of course, the son of the great Manchester fighter Michael Gomez. What are your thoughts on this one?
Potential to be domestic fight of the year. There's potential for it to be. If it catches
depends
fire.
Depends what Michael Gomez and Reece Bellotti turns up. I mean, Reece Bellotti seems to have found a bit of form.
They're both on good winning runs, aren't they?
Yeah, and I've always backed against, not physically bet, but I've always picked against Michael Gomez. I was underwhelmed when I very first saw him fight. And I thought, he ain't got... he's nothing like his dad anyway. Boxing's completely different. He's a crisper boxer than his dad. And he don't fight as much as his dad. He's a very clean, crisp boxer. He's got a great jab. But I just was a little bit underwhelmed by him, and I've sort of dismissed his skill set. And he's proved me wrong every time, you know, and he's improved dramatically in incremental phases. And I've seen the organic growth in him, and I'm really impressed by what I've seen. And yeah, as Liam said, this could be. I've picked it for fight of the night, but this could be fight of the year. If Reece Bellotti and Gomez both turn up, this will be a ding dong, absolute ding dong. We could see a draw. These two could cancel each other out.
I worry about the lack of power for Gomez compared to Bellotti, maybe in a bit of inexperience. But I'd say that probably favours Bellotti and makes him the favourite. But again, you know, sometimes you see these coming of age breakout performances, don't you, from these fighters coming through.
Can I answer Timothy's question or statement? There's no one left. The only fight to be made, Timothy, is Prograis and Catterall. Everybody's tied up. Everybody's either contracted to fights or in fights. So
yeah, even Matthias is fighting, isn't he, next month?
So he couldn't really. This was the only fight to make, really, I think.
Well, Teofimo's technically not, but we know he's moving up anyway.
Yeah, but he's out having ayahuasca somewhere in bloody Peru.
He's going through it with Bob, isn't he? He's going through a big dispute with Bob Arum.
Teo's always going through it with someone. I think he thrives on that. He's either going through it with Boss, he's arguing with his dad, he's arguing with Bob. I think he has to have some form of drama. Yeah.
Timothy says he's going to fight Richardson Hitchens, but backed out.
No,
I thought Prograis had a fight lined up, and I don't even think it was Richardson Hitchens. I thought it was someone else. I can't even remember who it was now. But it doesn't ring.
The Jack Catterall fight is far better than what was being rumoured for Prograis. That's the fact. It's a far more attractive fight.
Yeah, I think backed out is possibly a little bit maybe sidestepped for a better offer.
Yeah, probably just Yeah, took a bigger offer to fight, I would say. Yeah, definitely. But Gomez and Bellotti, then that should be a fun one. Campbell Hatton is.
I mean, I can't see that being a boring fight, to be fair.
It's been put on the card for a reason, hasn't it?
Yeah, mate, you can't see it being a boring fight. And Reece Bellotti went from losing 3 fights in a row, 2 of them with Jordan Gill and Ray Ford. No shame in losing to Ray Ford. Look at what he's gone on to do. So winning 5 in a row and now being British and Commonwealth champion. When he won the British belt against Liam Dillon earlier this year, he was putting as the B side. Eddie Hearn has a good relationship with Eddie was like, look, I put my mate, someone I've backed since I first came into boxing, as the B side here. And look what he's done then. He's won it. If he wins this, have your third defense, win the Lord Lonsdale outright, and ride off into the sunset, Reece Bellotti, because what you've achieved in the last year of your career has far surpassed where you were after losing to Ray Ford in 2021. Michael Gomez Jr. is English champion after beating Kane Baker earlier this year. He doesn't seem to have the pop and the power. I'd love him to have a breakout performance on Saturday and show me that he's got something about him. I just don't think he's as battle hardened as Reece Bellotti, and that's why I favour Bellotti in the fight. I think Bellotti's been in wars. We've seen him grind out 12 rounds.
Gomez hasn't fought at a decent level. He's had a lot of velodrome sort of lower level fights and then made the step up to English Commonwealth level. I think the fact that Bellotti's boxed at a higher level longer consistently might pay dividends in that fight, maybe down the stretch. We could see it be really close to about round 8. And then I think experience might take over, possibly. I'm not saying that's what will happen. I'm predicting a very close fight, but I'm on the fence for once. Jay's Fight Talk on the fence.
Gomez is first scheduled 12-rounder. So that, again, look, some fighters just adapt to it like a duck to water. But someone like Bellotti, who's been through so many wars, he knows what to do in those last 3 rounds. Jim McDonald will say, he's sparring 18 rounds in the gym. That's what he used to say about De Gale, didn't he? He's the fittest I've ever seen, X, Y, and Z. And Bellotti actually is. Even in fights he's lost, he's always kept going until the 36th minute of the fight. He's never, very rarely, seldom fell short for his gas tank. It's often the ability and what's in front of him in the other corner.
Mm-hmm. Campbell Hatton against Jimmy Joe Flint, running it back. Rematch of Campbell's first defeat. He's moved
this will be his second defeat.
He's moved to the Ben Davison camp, hasn't he?
He's gone.
From he was with his uncle Magic Matthew Hatton, wasn't he?
I don't think
he's moved. I think Barry Smith's actually his lead coach, isn't he?
Barry Smith's lead. Look, he's made the decision to move away from home comforts, to move away from his uncle, put himself into the big wide world. You get what I mean? Move away from everything he knows, to relocate to Essex.
Going to university.
To have a stab at it. And that shows me that he does want to try and move away from the shadow of his dad and forge his own path.
Unlucky.
But
is it?
But it's not going to happen. Look, I give him a lot of credit for moving away and for starting afresh and for going straight back into this fight. But look, people talk about, is he even going to reach British level? If he loses again on Saturday, then there's doubts for me if he's going to reach British level. He has to win on Saturday to get back into a British level conversation. Let's park your European and your world and, selling out the Etihad like your dad did back in 2007. Let's park all of that for a minute. He's not his dad's one. He's a fighter in his own right, but he needs to prove he's of British level because Flynn is English level at best. Since he fought...
He lost, didn't he, his fight after the Campbell Hatton fight?
He lost a split decision in June. He was cut, he lost. So he's coming into this off the back of a loss after beating Campbell Hatton. He's taken a fight and lost. So we're going to see. If Campbell can make improvements and he is capable of getting to British level, we're going to see it on Saturday night. But he's in another tough fight. And it's really difficult because you want to like Campbell Hatton. You want to see the kids forge the best path he can and reach whatever his level is, be that English, British, Commonwealth, even world honors. You want to see him reach it, but he loses on Saturday, then I think the writing's on the wall that he's unfortunately not up to the standard needed even to reach British level. And
they must fancy it, Liam, because that's quite a quick turnaround. I've not got the box record or anything, but you'll know. What is it? About a year ago, off the top of my head, the fought.
No, it was this year, mate. It was March this year.
This year, so they've clearly, that's quite a risk for what is he, about 20, 21?
Yeah, he's young. He's young, and he's gone straight back into it. I
think he's a bit older than that now. I think he's about 23, 24, is he?
Because, if he loses it, he's 23, you're right, Jay. Yeah. If he loses it, it's 2 defeats in a year to the same guy who, as Liam described earlier, and it's true, he's English level, really. It's kind of a bit of a, but where do you go from there?
More to the point, we talk about Eddie being ruthless, and if things aren't going his way, if he's not making the money, if fighters aren't delivering, he cuts them off. He's got 258 behind him, so he lands on his feet with another promoter. But there's a real danger that Eddie and Matchroom do cut him loose if he loses this fight on Saturday. And then you're coming off the back of 2 defeats at an English level when you're trying to find a new promoter. It's there's a lot more than just the victory on the line for Campbell Hatton on Saturday night. And that's not, and for me, that's not underselling it either. That's the reality.
Pat said Hatton lives in the shadow of his father, but he would have to take a few. Yeah, it's basically saying that the fight, he probably should have took a few more. I agree with that before the rematch. Then change trainer to Davison. Good, but that happened so quickly. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's clearly a risk, but if it comes off, then he's effectively undefeated. Again, he's beat every fighter that he's ever fought. So it's a calculated risk. But at the end of the day, if you're going to go anywhere in the game, you're going to beat Jimmy Johnson. It's as simple as that. If he's going to have any ambitions to do anything in the game, then he's going to have to go in there on Saturday night and get that win, which I think he's got a chance.
Similar to Catterall, a win's possibly not good enough. If he wants to go anywhere in the game, he needs to beat the shit out.
I'll go stop him. He doesn't look like he's got any power either, though, Campbell Hatton.
Not really.
Just on this, Timothy said, winner Catterall Prograis will go WBA, WBC. Prello and Gary Russell are fighting for the one that Haney vacated, the WBC. Hitchens and Power doing the IBF. I don't think Teofimo Lopez is fighting Arnold Barboza because he's fighting on the Riyadh Latino card. Barboza against Jose Ramirez, aren't they fighting on that Riyadh card? So Tio's going to move up. Timothy Tio's going to go to 147 and probably fight for the WBO. Don't the WBO champions, aren't they allowed to vacate and move up and get first shot or something? Is that not one of their...
That's what Usyk's done, getting a shot at AJ. We see other fighters do
right. So I believe he'll do that. And who's WBO? Brian Norman, is it?
Pretty sure it's Norman. Yeah, it is Norman.
Yeah. The WBA route would make sense. It's Jose Valenzuela. He beat Isaac Cruz on the Crawford Madrimov card. So, yeah, I could see that. That's actually a pretty good, fun, stylistic fight. Catterall against Valenzuela. I'd watch that one, definitely. Timothy also said Campbell doesn't punch his weight at that weight division. Not enough pot. Yeah, exactly. He was hitting Flint with regular, regularity in the first fight, and he didn't move him anywhere. He can't. He meant Norman. So yeah, he is fighting. He'll move up and fight Norman. So that WBO 140 is going to be vacant soon. So Catterall maybe can fight for a vacant belt. I don't know what you boys think, but anything to add on that?
For me, it doesn't matter how Catterall gets to a belt. If he wins, we want to see him fighting for a belt. It doesn't matter what it is. He will have a chance to prove himself after he's won. If it's a vacant title, he needs and deserves to be seen fighting for a world title if he comes through on Saturday. And Saturday is not as much of a foregone conclusion as people are letting you believe it is.
He can't do much more, can he? If he gets a win on Saturday, I mean, what more can he do to get another shot?
He deserves a shot if he wins. If he wins on Saturday, it's you beat Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis back-to-back fights, then you deserve
a world title fight in Chorley Town Hall. He'll pack it to the rafters, 150 feet, 150 of his fans there. I'm only messing.
It'll be the Christmas lights at Chorley. But we've got a good hour out of that, boys. We're going to go on to this part of the show now where we've probably a bit more to talk about. I've got some decent talking points here. Anybody in the chat, Pat, Timothy, Luca, Hawkan that have been with us so far, any talking points that you've got, boys, throw them over our way and we'll get stuck right into them. First one I want to go to is February the 22nd, this rumoured Matchroom versus Queensbury rematch, 5 versus 5. And there's a few fights I've seen talked about on X over the past couple of days. We'd have to assume that it's going to be headlined by Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois, the rematch. Obviously, that's a Matchroom versus Queensbury fight, so you could probably include that in the 5 versus 5. Shakur Stevenson's talking about February. He's a Matchroom fighter, so no doubt that somebody from Queensbury is going to get 12-0 by him at 135 pounds. We just need to find out who. Lee Wood and Anthony Kakachi have been taught. I know Wood's a free agent at the minute. But he can easily re-sign for Matchroom for a big Saudi payday. Wood's after a big payday. Him and Eddie have gone butted heads about money and that kind of thing. That's probably an easy one. Kakachi's got the IBF Super Featherweight Championship. I know Sugar Nunes is in waiting in the wings and he's getting next shot. So I don't know how they'll maneuver that, but I think they will. I think Turkey will find a way to maneuver around that, in my opinion, or Nunes will get a shot at one of the other belts. I don't think, even though he stepped aside twice or whatever it is, I think they'll find a way to do Wood Kakachi. Any other fights that are sticking out off the top of your head, boys? Matchroom versus Queensbury that you feel like there's a chance of being made? I know it's hard to kind of think on the spot, but are there any other, can we try and get our heads together to think of any other matchups that could potentially be there? And who are you picking?
In terms of matchups, I'm drawing a blank at the moment. In terms of the fights you've just mentioned, Lee Woods would be Anto Kakachi. Lee Wood would be Anto Kakachi. Daniel Dubois would repeat over Anthony Joshua. Rematches very seldom go the opposite way, don't they? They very rarely don't go the same way at the first fight, and I just think
Eddie's going to get his best team possible for this 5 versus 5 rematch. He is going to leave no stone unturned at all.
Yeah. Look, and look, Lee Wood will be on his team, and I think Lee Wood beats Kakachi. Regardless of whether that fight's still for a world title or not, Wood beats Kakachi. He's shown it time and time again what he's capable of doing. What other fights did you say? Sorry, mate.
Shakur's going to be on the card. He's had successful hand surgery, and they're talking about February, so you'll get Shakur Stevenson on that card. But he's WBC lightweight champion. Unless, he couldn't headline over Dubois Joshua, could he? So I don't know who did Queensbury have at 135. No one's sticking out massively to him unless Kakachi moved up and fought him and allowed Sugar Nunes to fight for the belt, like Pat said. That's potential because Kakachi said he's struggling to make 130. Would he get a huge payday against Shakur? He wouldn't win the fight, but he'd get a huge payday.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that on the 5 versus 5. But Frank's not silly either. Frank's not going to just allow... That's a mismatch. Frank's not going to allow a load of mismatches for the 5 versus 5 rematch just so Eddie can get one back on him.
Hopefully, Turkey won't allow it. He'll want it to be the same standard as we saw in June. He's not going to allow a one-sided card, is he? For 5 versus 5.
And Eddie's not going to be picking Wilder as his captain, who wasn't even a Matchroom fighter. That was a whole thing. Was Eddie's team weren't bought in. Frank's team were ready to go to the well for him. That was That was what happened on June the 1st. No, you're all right. Don't worry. Yeah, the only other one I don't know if Hamza will want to be on it again because of his success. Yeah, that's a good shout, Pat. Diego Pacheco, 168 pounds. I don't know who.
Holy shit!
Who Queensbury? Who could Queensbury put into a 168 pound fight? All I can think of is the middleweights at the minute: Brad Pauls and Nathan Ian.
It'd be a middleweight moving up. Someone like Denzel Bentley or someone like that, probably.
Well, to be fair, what about Hamza? Stick Hamza in with him. That'd be a smashing fight. I know, but Hamza could. Hamza looked great at 168.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Solid as well.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Kakachi must keep away from Nunes. Wood been inactive, depends on how he handles the weight. Definitely, don't be surprised if Kakachi fights Stevenson. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think that probably would make more sense than anything. Yeah, MJ, they're tuning up for a new fight. Yeah, but Again, I don't know if the 5 versus 5 is the place for tune-ups, in fairness. Inoue and MJ will fight in April, so would February the 22nd be too soon for it? In my opinion, potentially. You know, there hasn't really been any rumored matchups yet so far, has there? Like there was last time. We knew way before the announcement what the matchups were last time, didn't we? But, you know, I can't really think. You know, McGrail and McCann should have been on the 5 versus 5. They could have waited that one out a couple more months.
Yeah.
That's the first fight that came to me was McGrail or McCann would be absolutely fantastic on that. Is there an option for the winner of that?
50-50s on the 5 versus 5. It makes it fair. It has to be fair.
Yeah, it should be stacked. It should be 50-50s all the way through, which is, you know, what we've seen before. Well, other than, okay, they didn't turn out to be 50-50s, but on paper, everyone was saying this is a very evenly split 50-50 card, which was 100% true.
There are close fights on there and stuff like that too. You know, the ball forward fight could have gone either way, couldn't it? That was very close.
Yeah, ball forward. Some of the others, that was probably the closest fight, actually, looking back. Ball forward was Shiraz Williams. Ammo was one-sided in the end. Willie Hutchinson made light work of
Frank had 3 underdogs, 2 favourites in that first 5 versus 5.
Yeah.
Willie Hutchinson won as an underdog. Who else won as an underdog?
Nick Ball. Underdogs.
Huh?
And most of Eddie's fights were favourites in that 5 versus 5.
Yeah, well, Zhang was a favourite over Wilder in the main event, and Hamza was a favourite over Ammo Williams.
Only just, and it depends which bookies you were looking at.
Hamza was a solid favourite over Ammo.
It wasn't. Not with Bet365 or MGM. Because I wanted to win money on it, and you couldn't get odds on. It wasn't worth betting on either way. Well, like if that were the closest.
If that was the case, some people should have been millionaires because there's no way in hell that anyone should have been picking Ammo Williams to beat Hamza in that. That's why Frank made him his captain. But anyway, we'll move on from that because it's too difficult to think of fights on the spot. But hopefully, we get some clarity.
There's too much that can still happen before the end of the year as well. There's still fights we're going to see in what remains of 2024 that will make that picture a bit clearer as well. It's
true.
You can't predict it at the moment.
Very true. There's been a bit of controversy this week, since we were last on anyway, around boxing gloves. Ben Shalom, Frank Warren have been going back and forward about Fabio Wardley's fly gloves.
Have they, though?
In the Fraser Clark fight. Oh, they've been going back and forth.
No, they haven't. Ben
Frank's threatened. The question. Frank's threatened.
Wardley said something and everyone's jumped on it. Ben never said.
No, but Ben's given multiple interviews and Frank's given multiple interviews and threatened
and
stuff.
And what's Ben said in it? They've asked him questions about him and he said, this got mentioned, that got mentioned, it's getting looked into. That's all Ben said. He hadn't said the gloves weren't right. Everyone.
No, he's made no statements that kind of implicate him anyway.
He's not an idiot. He's fucking got law degree, hasn't he? He's not a fool. But he didn't instigate that. Somebody else instigated that. Ben's not instigated that. It's just got blown into this big, massive.
No, his words were, Shalom's words were, it's been raised at my team, and then I've asked the questions that have been asked of me to ask. So Fraser Clark's team had said something about the glove. But like you say,
nonsense.
Nobody's accused anybody of anything.
It's
Warren's read the headlines, hasn't he? And he's just responded to. He's looking for an excuse to go at Shalom at the minute, isn't he? Bless him.
He doesn't need an excuse.
He doesn't need any excuse.
Ben keeps in straight lines, unfortunately. Look, mate, it's a load of crap. The gloves were signed off by the Border Control, who signed off both pairs of gloves, and they've done it for every single fighter on that 4-crown showdown cards. Look, if the claims have been made by someone from Fraser for Ben to go on and investigate, then keep that in-house until you've got something concrete. All you're doing now, unfortunately, is looking like sour grapes, looking like a sore loser, looking like you can't compete at the top table with the big boys yet again because you're coming out with it early. If he in that instance said, I've got a document which I'm going to be releasing that shows X, Y, and Z to do with Fabio Wardley's gloves, then there's some credence to the argument. There's fuck all there, and he's just again made himself look like a mug at a time where he doesn't need to.
Jay, what do you make of Adam Azim normally wearing fly gloves and then wearing Grants for the O'Hara Davis fight? Coincidence or just change of gloves?
Just change your gloves, I think.
I should have asked Liam, but Liam's impartial to boxer fighters. Jay's not.
Fuck off.
I forgot there's a whistleblower for Sky Sports
I'm
boxing
a mole.
Gloves make gloves are gloves. Fighters change them all the time. Unless they've got a partnership with a specific manufacturer, they change gloves. I mean, okay, they picked a good week to do it. Fair enough. You're playing.
Yeah.
But the problem for me in all of this, right, what people are missing, if there is something wrong with those gloves, right, then the British Boxing Board of Control need a serious look at, because they both have to submit a minimum of 2 pairs of gloves. You have a pair and an alternate pair, right? They are checked by both teams. They are tried on while both team members there. They then put back in the packets and they're stashed away, right?
Yeah, signed off by the board.
So if those gloves are not right, then they're either accusing Team Wardley of tampering with them, right? Like Margarito. Similar. I know that was wraps, not gloves, but you know what I mean. They're accusing somebody of tampering, or they're accusing the British Boxing Board of Control, or whoever was the representative of the British Boxing Board of Control, of not doing the job right. Forget what's happened. That's the bigger issue for me is shit like that shouldn't be going on unless somebody's not doing the job right, or somebody, dare I say it, is on the payroll. I'm not saying that's what's happened, but that is they're some of the only ways that shit like that can go on. So it's the British Boxing Board of Control that the fault lies at their door.
Oh yeah, this is what I mean, and it's such a messy path to go down, which is why I just made the point of you would expect if this was Frank already, they'd possibly keep it a bit quieter until they had more evidence, because they've gone, look, a promoter has a relationship with the boards. That doesn't just die overnight. But Ben Shalom can make his life a lot more difficult with the Board of Control by making allegations like this that don't have concrete backing up. All you have to do is go onto the Matchroom Boxing YouTube channel and watch the gloves being selected. And there is a part in that video where both of Fabio Wardley's gloves and both of Fraser Clark's gloves are signed off. Robert Smith is standing behind the Board of Control member that signs off the gloves. So you've got
Conor Ben's mate.
Conor Ben's mate. So, but that's my point. Regardless of your opinion on Robert Smith or not, he was there at that moment, and that's there on a video that anyone can go and watch. So Ben's really got to come up with something here. Otherwise, he's just making himself look like a mug at a time.
Alienating himself from everybody.
Everyone wants to have
the boards, the sanctioning bodies, the fighters.
Everyone
is he leaning into being a heel, or is he just that daft?
Everyone wants to sympathise with Ben Shalom at the moment because the big boy is a bit bullying him on the school playground. It's not nice. But then you do shit like this and you really make everyone else look like
makes it worse, doesn't it?
Just make it look a million times worse. It's just,
Yeah.
He needs Jay sorting out PR and marketing. That's what needs to happen. Put him in a corner and tell him what needs to go on.
So no, don't buy some bits with their gloves and more nonsense. Then I think it's nonsense as well. To be honest with you, Pat, I think it's the whole thing's nonsense about the gloves. The whole thing afterwards has been nonsense. Frank is looking for an excuse to go at Ben. Ben probably didn't help himself. He's done a million interviews, which is unlike him. Every day I'm seeing a new Ben Shalom interview at the minute. And fair enough, he had the show last week to promote, and then before that he had his fighters in the Saudi card, but he's had a lot of cameras in his face over the last 2 weeks, so it probably doesn't take a lot for just one slip. And like Jay said earlier, I was listening to TalkSport as well at one point, and one of them made a good point on Ben Shalom. It's like he could have done it and it could have happened, but probably not the wisest idea in the world to answer any questions around it or announce it. That it was
should have just shut it down.
Should have just said, look, that's between us and the people in the background. He shouldn't have ever said that, and it's probably a lesson for him, and I'm sure he never will again. He's a calculated guy, Ben Shalom. He's not, he's like Jay said, he's got his law degrees, and he's no man's fool, Ben Shalom, but he made a bit of a mistake on that.
But then acted like an idiot. He should have just shut it down. It's, especially when things have got no credence or substance to them. Because ultimately, there's no case to be answered yet. It's all, suggestion, rumour, and innuendo. So you just shut that shit down. Just look, I've got no comment to make on it. It's something that's been mentioned. The board are looking into it, or whatever, or not even that. Just I don't know. There's not to tell you. But no. But again, Ben might be doing this on purpose because ultimately, we're all talking about it. They've been talking about it.
His brand's never been more. He's never been more relevant than he's been.
So as shit as I say his marketing is, he's doing pretty well with it.
Well, yeah, I'd say the viewership on the Azim fight last week was fairly decent as well, most definitely. Yeah, I agree with you, Pat. He probably should have zipped it at that point. Boys, we'll move on then from Glovegate. Tomorrow, well, it is tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow night at 5 p.m. UK time, we are getting a Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk launch press conference. I believe, is it in London?
Yeah, I'll see it when I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. So how many sausages, dossers, rabbits, middleweights? How many? I
think you're going to get a shock. I think Tyson Fury will turn up tomorrow and he'll be Mr. Humble, Mr. Respectful.
Well, they were hugging each other at the Joshua fight, weren't they?
Yeah, I don't think we'll get that yet.
Well, you can't call him a rabbit in a middleweight because he lost to a middleweight. If that's the case,
I don't.
His ego is going to be bruised.
I got beat by the better man, but I'm going to win this time. I'm going to knuckle down. I'm going to go into camp, and I'll see you at Christmas. I think we'll be anticlimactic tomorrow.
Did either of you see the video Dev Sani posted up the other day?
I don't watch anything that Dev Sani's ever on.
Okay, well, to be honest with you, I didn't go looking for it. It just came up in the feed, but it was a video, like two videos running at the same time, one above the other, and it was Fury's eyes, or like he was staring Deontay Wilder out for the third fight, and you'll have all seen the clip. It looked like a man possessed. Looked like he was ready for war, and it was you or me. Usyk. Yeah, it was you or me kind of thing. Then the one looking at Usyk where he's like joking around, and he's like, he doesn't look like he looks distracted kind of thing. So obviously Dev being the Queensbury whistleblower that he is, he's like, if we see this version of Tyson Fury, it's going to be very interesting. But although he's made the point wrong, I do agree with that is the way that Fury's got a chance to win the fight. Like he has to come out and probably risk everything, really. He's either going to it's either me or you. You're either going to knock me out or I'm going to knock you out. I think that's his only path to victory, if I'm being honest.
If we're being, look, Tyson has already come out and says, and this is again him being controversial, that because of the situation in Ukraine at the moment, he only wins this fight by knocking out Alexander Usyk. Now, let's ignore the Ukraine part of that statement and say that if he's coming into this fight believing he needs a knockout, then fuck me, we're going to get an even better fight than we got first time round, because Tyson Fury was not looking for a knockout in May. How he behaves
exactly.
Yeah, how he behaves at the press conference tomorrow, for me, will be a massive indication into what his mindset is going into this fight. If it is a bit boring and that means we can't do it live afterwards because we haven't got a lot to talk about, then that shows he is locked in and he's got the attention and he's got the focus there. That's what I want to see from him. If he is shouting, if he's shouting and hollering and calling Usyk every name under the sun, then, I mean, that doesn't mean anything with Tyson Fury because it's Tyson Fury, but it's not the side I think we need to see from him at this point of his career. His career is on the line. If he loses to Usyk again, he's got nowhere to turn. I know you can say, yes, Anthony Joshua fight's always there, but in terms of his legacy, in terms of his place among the plethora of all-time great heavyweights, that conversation's over if he loses to Alexander Usyk again on December 21st.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lucas said Tyson talked shite. He's the one who got favours on the cards, if anything, certainly from the ref. Yeah, I thought Usyk was a clear winner on May the 17th. I think it was a bit. It was close to a point, but Usyk won the fight.
9 onwards, Usyk was in charge.
Yeah. Can Tyson Fury knock out Usyk?
Yeah.
Of course he can.
Yeah.
Jay, I think Tyson Fury wins the rematch.
Tyson talks absolute shite. Stop the press. Wow. Headlines there, Luca. That's what's got him to the flipping party, isn't it?
Fury's mouth gave him opportunities that his boxing ability didn't have at the time.
I don't understand what favours he's talking about. He lost.
No, he's talking about the scorecards were too close. Like it was a split decision.
Yeah, but it wasn't far off that, to be fair. He was,
Nah, Usyk. I thought Usyk won by
5-1 up after 6 for me. 5-1 up after 6, and he won.
I don't know. You had Fury 5-1 up after 6 in that fight.
Yeah, and I've watched it 6 or 7 times.
I've just
Well, what did you have it then? If I'm wrong,
I think I had after 6. I had 4-2 to Usyk.
Yeah, so you had it 1 round different to me.
You had it 5-1 to Usyk.
Yeah, no, I had it 5-1 to Fury, but you had it 1 round different the other way around. We can go back and watch that. Usyk couldn't get anywhere near him.
I've got my
Tyson Fury till about 6.
I've got my scorecard here. After 6 rounds, I'm the same as Jay. I had it 5-1 to Usyk, 5-1 to Fury, sorry, and at the end I had it 114, 113 to Alexander Usyk. He won everything for me.
Very close, man. The knockdown made that convincing for Usyk. I think Usyk won it, but I had it a draw when it finished. I thought
round 8 was the key moment. He broke Fury's nose, or he hit him with a shot in the 8th, and then that.
Yeah, that was the turning
point. I honestly think Tyson wins the rematch. I do. I think he can stop him in the rematch.
I'm just hoping his dad's nowhere near his corner.
He is, though. John's in the corner. He's already confirmed it.
He needs decent advice, though. His dad was shouting over, and just his dad's not a boxing trainer, man. His dad's a sausage.
Yeah, but this is the thing. And that's another thing. When it came out a few weeks ago that the corner was going to stay exactly the same, and they emphasized the point that meant John Fury's in the corner, I kind of went like this, because John Fury being in the corner makes it the John Fury show. It detracts away from Tyson Fury and all the hard work that Sugar Hill has spent the last 4 years now doing with Tyson Fury. All of that's negated away by one big man shouting, "We are Gypsy Warriors. We are this. We are," in his ear. Andy Lee couldn't get a word in edgeways. One of the most intelligent men in boxing, be it with a microphone in his hand or in the corner. He couldn't get a word in edgeways. He was getting pushed out of the way by John Fury, for God's sake. That was a chaotic corner, not a constructive, diligent corner that was looking to become an undisputed heavyweight.
Look at the performances we got against Wilde. I know it's different, but I'm talking about performance 1, right? Performance number 1. That was the draw, that Tyson Fury should have got the win. And my bookie said I were an absolute moron betting on the draw, but that's another story. But his dad couldn't get a visa. His dad was nowhere near. Right? Performance of his life. Wilder 2. Dad nowhere near. Performance of his life. Every time his dad's not around, he hasn't got the outside, the extra external influence that gets into his mindset, and he wants to be this gypsy fighting man to impress his dad.
His dad was nutting people in fight week, for God's sake.
Say again, sorry.
His dad was nutting people in fight week, for God's sake.
Yeah, the smallest man on team.
The quietest and smallest man that was just minding his own business.
It wouldn't surprise me if Turkey bans him for this fight week, to be honest.
I think he'll I don't think he'll ban him, but he'll put him in check.
Put it this way: if John Fury gets banned and Tyson Fury makes the fight happening even more difficult, he's not going to go out there without his dad. That's just not going to happen. But I agree with Jay. John will be put in check. Hopefully, the only time we see John Fury is in the corner. And okay, we may have to deal with 12 rounds of John Fury in the corner, but I can live with that as opposed to the John Fury show of fight week that we got in May.
Yeah, me too. But I'm with you, Sam. I think Fury can win that fight, but it's just about how he turns up. If he turns up and he's on it and he boxes to orders, the bigger man beats the little man. But unfortunately,
he's got to use his size, man.
I think it was a mixture of his nose and adrenaline dump.
And he was comfortable. He was showing off and showboating and all this. Whereas, like, I don't know why he gave that bravado, but like he went in as a 6'9", 263 pound, whatever he weighed in, 30 odd pound heavier than Usyk at the fight, and Usyk was the one who was kind of boxing like he was the heavier guy compared to Fury was like back footing it, and he was pop shotting. There was no he stung him with that beautiful uppercut in the 6th round, didn't he? And then Usyk kind of he wobbled a tiny bit, and he was buzzed. He said it afterwards in a podcast he did with Steve Kim and Mario Lopez. it was a great quote. He said like, what did he say? It was very pain or something, is because his English is so broken. It was like he hit me with the uppercut in the 6th round, and it was very pain. The classic Usyk. But again, and rather than kind of step on him at that point, he was just enjoying himself, because that was his best part of the fight, wasn't it? Fury, like rounds 5 and 6, he was kind of free flowing at that point. And you just thought it's over for Usyk at that point. And then, like you say, probably adrenaline dump, lack of concentration. This is feeling a lot easier than I thought it would be. And then one shot kind of just changes the whole complexion of the fight.
Yeah, it's complex, man. It's very complex. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen. I know that I'm being pessimistic there, but I can see Tyson going from one extreme to another, being quiet and humble tomorrow, and then doing something really fucking stupid, and getting an injury, or just retiring, or something crazy. Honest to God, I know that sounds extreme, but he's like that, isn't he?
Mate, I completely agree.
He's got more money than sense.
You know what? For me, Tyson choked it a bit during and I'm talking before the fight, like the way that he wouldn't face off with Usyk. He was acting out of character. He was acting intimidated during fight week. I'm sorry, he was. Usyk was stone-faced like all week. You cannot get in that man's head. Fury wasted too much energy, too much theatrics trying to get in Usyk's head. He needs to just focus on himself. Do you, and you can win the fight. Last time, he just see all the showboating and sticking his tongue out during the fight and all that, man. Just do you. You can beat the guy.
But the thing is with Tyson, and by his own admission, we've seen a number of his episodes happen in and out of the ring over the years. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. It wouldn't surprise me if towards the end of that. It wouldn't surprise me if towards the end of that fight week with Usyk and on fight night, he was battling his bipolar and his mental demons much of the fight, if that makes sense. I have no idea what that is. I have no idea.
Luke, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah. Why? Because I'm black. I'm from Sheffield. What are you talking about? No bed. Sorry,
no, you're fine. My point is, I think, look, I'm not making excuses for him. We know his mental battles that he's had in and outside of the ring. He looked like he was having some kind of mental episode, if that's the right word, towards the end of that fight week, because he went from being okay, he was loud and brash, but he was calculated and collected at the grand arrivals at the start of that week. Come to press conference and fight night, etc., he was a completely different person, and that makes sense with his personality disorder, his bipolar, etc. That's not taking anything away from Usyk at all. Before anyone comes at me in the comments, but you got to remember that with Tyson, he's a very complex individual, and he changed so much in 2 days. That's not just because he was intimidated or X, Y, and Z. That's the personality.
From one extreme to another, quick, didn't it?
Yeah. If he was like that at the start of the week, then I wouldn't have that argument. But he changed from Monday and Tuesday to Thursday, Friday, and fight night. It was like two different people completely.
I think reality set in, and I think he thought, "Fuck, I'm in a proper fight here." He's never really been in a proper fight, has he? Really? I mean, John McDermott aside. He's easily
Wilder 3 and Wilder 1, I guess. But yeah, I know what you mean. He hasn't been in many, has he?
No, not where he's been sort of he wasn't intimidated by Wilder. He knew he could beat Wilder. He's never really been intimidated. And I think for once he saw somebody in front of him that he tried to get in his head. He tried to intimidate. All that didn't work. And I think he realised that reality was, you're in a fight here.
See when Fury got in the ring after his big flashy entrance and ran straight over to the Usyk corner and, ran up to his team, and, Alex Krasuk was there and all of Usyk's team, and Usyk's just staring through his soul. I knew at that point, man, like he was unflappable. He was meant to be for Usyk that night. I don't know if he's got that in him again. I'm done doubting the Ukrainian though. I'm done with it.
You knew Usyk many times before after the weigh-in. The way he responded to how Tyson was at the weigh-in, the way he stayed stoic and just stared through this crazed man. That's what Fury was come Friday. He was a crazed individual. You knew nothing was going to phase him. Tyson could have flipping tried and dropped him into a headlock at some point in the fight or something crazy like that, and Usyk would have stuck to his game plan. He knew what he was doing. Look, I'm with Jado, and Luca, if you want to call me Johnny Nelson as well after this, that's fine. We know Tyson Fury's
Johnny
history.
Nelson's on the go. Jesus.
We know Tyson Fury's history of liking to maneuver fights back. He moved back to the original date from December after the Ngannou fight. It was then February. He got cut. It got moved back to May. If he doesn't feel something's right, he'll move the fight back. And no one's going to argue.
Lose 10 million or something if the fight changes. There's a clause in it.
Something like that. But I mean, that's 10 million to Tyson Fury. He's got over 150 million, hasn't he?
It's either he loses 10 million or the fight won't happen. It's something like he can't.
There is a financial penalty, isn't there? I remember Turkey saying.
There is a financial. Usyk won't allow him to move the fight again unless he's genuinely injured.
If it doesn't happen in December, it's done.
Yeah, it's off. It's off.
It's done.
Yeah, it's done.
And then I think Alan Babbage will get it and he'll dominate.
Savage.
Why are you laughing, man? Savage Army.
Tyson Fury does what Tyson Fury wants. He's not going to care over losing $10 million over losing this fight. If he's not ready for the fight,
exactly.
Facts. Absolute facts. He won't fight.
He has to take this fight, though. His legacy is on the line on December the 21st. He will be remembered as he may as well lose to Usyk twice rather than not find out and fight him for a second time.
If he cares about his legacy, that's the thing as well. What does Tyson Fury care about? Is it the money and the fame and everything that's come since Wilder and his comeback, or is it legacy? I used to think it was legacy. Now I'm kind of unsure which side of the line.
Liam, I don't think it's either with Tyson Fury. I just think he don't know anything other than boxing. The money is a byproduct of success and legacy. And I think it's just, he's going through the motions now. I just don't think he knows anything else. I mean, what's he going to do if he don't box? We've seen what he's like when he don't box. He goes into manic bouts of depression, because he's not got anything to sort of drive him. And, I'm not comparing the two, but I am going to compare the two and contradict myself. The only thing I can equate it to is I'm a recovered addict, yeah? And I spent from the years of 13 to 30 as an addict of class A drugs, right? And I got clean, but I always went back. I always relapsed because I had like a fucking hole, like a void, because I didn't know what to do with myself. My formative years was spent in addiction. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. Obviously, I got to a point where I got clean and stayed recovered. But what I'm saying is, I'm not calling Tyson Fury a junkie, but what I'm saying is, I've seen my brother as well. When boxing finished and wasn't there, my brother struggled because he didn't have to get up and do his runs. He didn't have to go to the gym. He didn't have to watch what he ate. He didn't have to do this. He didn't have to do that. So there's a big void. So I think for Tyson Fury, it don't matter what's at the end of it. He's just doing what he does because to keep himself going. Because I think he will be not like, like Gaza at football. Gaza was one of the best footballers I've ever seen, ever, right? Underachieved massively because he couldn't cope with life outside of football. And then when football finished, we've seen the man that is Gaza now. He's been a mess for a long time, bless him. And I think Tyson Fury at the minute, I don't think he's asked about legacy or money. He's got loads of money anyway. He's solidified. His legacy's pretty decent in it for what he did. No one expected him to beat Wilder. He beat him again. He's beat pretty much everything bar one of the greatest boxers of this generation. Usyk will go down as an all-time great in any generation for what he's done. There's only like Evander Holyfield that's got anywhere close to doing to replicating what he's done in those two divisions, like cleaning up at cruiser and winning world title. Obviously, Evander didn't become undisputed heavyweight champion, but he did it at cruiser, didn't he? But
he was undisputed at cruiser. Yeah, I think Hay had 3 belts. Did he at one point at cruiser?
David Hay
had everything.
He beat Mormek, didn't he, for the last?
Jean-Marc Mormek in France. What a KO that was.
And then he done Macronelli for the WBO. He never held. I think it was the IBF he never had, but he definitely had 3 of them.
But no, I just think Fury's just going through the motions at the moment. I don't think he knows anything different. Fury done it before, and we'll do that once again. Do what?
I think he's talking about pulling out.
Oh, right. Yeah. I've just got I say it all the time, don't about big fights. I thought Beterbiev wouldn't get to the ring, but he knew he was going to win before with the dodgy judges. Yeah. So
Pat's right. Fury will fight AJ regardless. Too much dough on the line. So Fury's a money man. I don't care what he says about legacy and this, that, and the other. He's a money man. He wants the money.
Yeah, money talks. And I guess the worry with Fury, and we're going off on a tangent here, but it's a valid point, is because he knows what happens when he doesn't have boxing, i.e. what happened after the Klitschko fight, the brinks and depths he went to of almost not being around or alive for his wife or his children anymore. That makes me think he probably will carry on to a point where he shouldn't be fighting because he knows what happens. Do you get what I mean? No one wants to see, Mike Tyson losing to fighters like Danny Williams comes to mind. Like Danny Williams and Mike Tyson would never have been competitive.
Like Jake Paul.
Well, yeah, I wasn't even going to bring up the circus. I was going to go back to when it was at least more repeatable.
He fucking went there, didn't he? He went there, didn't he?
Of course, it was an open goal.
We're a fight podcast, man. You can't talk about Jake Paul on a fight.
All right, let's bring it back to, you don't want to see a situation where Johnny Fisher, say, is beating Tyson Fury in 4 or 5 years' time. No disrespect to Johnny Fisher there, but you get my point. You don't want to see that happen to Tyson Fury.
No, I don't. I'd like to see him one and done, mate. I'd like to see him win this and retire. I don't see the AJ.
He might. But the AJ payday is too much for him. Tyson chats a lot of rubbish, doesn't he, as well?
Sam, you say that. Once he made the Wilder money, it's not about money for Fury. No, he don't need it. Man's got over £150 million. They're not fighting for money. I know that there's generational wealth.
Yeah, but remember his reaction at ringside when Dubois sparked Joshua out.
He's going to say that. 150
anyone would have that reaction.
I said it.
Fury's about the money. He is. He's all about the dough. That's all he cares about. And he does. That's why he does the Netflix shows. That's why he does this, that, and the other. He only talks about money. For someone who doesn't care about money, only ever talks about money. You watch any of his interviews, talks about his paychecks and this, that, and the other. He's like, I don't care. I made all this money, didn't I? Anyway, that was his reaction when he lost to Usyk. I made all this money. So who's winning? That's not a legacy guy to me. But
he also said Happy New Year and everybody, and stuff like that after the Usyk fight. He was heavily concussed. So how seriously do you take anything he said in the media?
No, that was in the ring though. The Happy New Year. I'm talking about like in his first interview after the fight. He talked about like how much money he made and all.
He was still concussed, most likely. I'll get your point, mate, and I completely agree. But look, Fury does what Fury wants, and as I say, I'd like him to be one and done. I agree with Jay, but heaven forbid we do see him in 5 years' time being rolled out. But I've just used Johnny Fisher as an example because he's the type of fighter that came to mind. We never want to see Tyson Fury at that point.
Do you know what, though? I will say this, that I could see Frank making the Dubois fight if AJ don't take it. I could see him getting Tyson in there and having a Wembley showdown. So both his fighters as such, aren't they?
Well, they are, yeah.
They are both, yeah.
Mate, that's not an outrageous claim at all. That's really not outrageous.
No,
Tyson's at retirement age,
because AJ's gone quiet, really, hasn't he? He's not really said much.
He's nowhere else to go, AJ.
But I mean, Daniel Dubois doesn't speak full stop, but AJ is usually pretty vocal. I don't know if Daniel can speak. I'm not sure he can, but I know he doesn't. But Joshua said no. But I mean, there's not a lot Joshua can say, really, is there? He got his ass handed to him.
He's got nowhere else to go. He has to take that.
He's now got to do something in the ring. He can't do anything else outside the ring, AJ.
Stay humble, AJ.
In every interview, he says he either doesn't care about money and tries to pass out, or he wants 250 mil to fight. Every conversation. Yeah, he does, Luca. He constantly just waffles on about money. None of the other heavyweights do, in fairness. But I do. I'm not a Tyson Fury hater. I actually hope he wins the rematch, and I do, but he's just a contradicting person. He says one thing one day and one thing the next. But anyway, we'll move on from that. Let's talk about what was the last thing I had to talk about on the list. Wallachek, boys. Anything else you want to
add? Not for me. I think we've covered a majority of.
Yeah, no, it's the boxing wise. It's the Manchester card, and that's all this weekend.
We haven't got any. Sorry, I spoke last night. Better be a Bivol, the warm-ups.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The what?
So Bob Arum came out in an interview in America and said that Beterbiev and Bivol aren't realistically going to fight each other on a Riyadh season card before the close in May next year.
So they're going to have a fight.
Apparently, they'll take interim fights before coming back this time next year for the rematch.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
Is an horrendous idea.
Why are they taking interim fights?
Because they're fucking stupid. Beterbiev will get bloody injured. Bivol will get cut or something. That's mental, man. Just let him chill out for 6 months.
No one's got badly knocked out. No one's jaw was broken from what I can recall or anything like that. It was a tough, grueling fight. Don't get me wrong, but if just what's the what's the reasoning? Do you think for him doing it?
Don't know. It makes no sense. That does it.
We've got a question, Jay, for you.
Jay, can I ask? Did you get an apology from P Corner? I don't know. What's he mean? P.
There's a show you're meant to be on, I think, wasn't there? That
nah, shitbag. No, and the worst thing about it is he's done a video today. He kept calling me James, and he's done a video with some some nutritionally challenged kid called James. And answered me WhatsApps and so you're a shitbag, Porky. Absolute shithouse, mate. The first person you were going to have on that doesn't agree with you, that's not a fan, and you ghosted me, had me sat there like a moron, 11 o'clock Saturday morning, when I had shit to do with my children, and I binned them off. So you can do one, you sausage. Clown.
Dosser, I was waiting for. Middleweight? Middleweight?
But he won't give an apology. I'm a no one, right? I'm a no one. I get that. I'm not making out I'm some big shot. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're
making waves, JFT. Don't put yourself down.
No, I'm being serious. If you make an appointment with somebody, right, then stick to it. Or at the very least, have the common decency to answer a message that I emailed you. Bearing in mind, he'd said to me, right, grow a pair of bollocks. That's what he said to me on the email. I've got receipts. Grow a pair of balls. Send me come on a Zoom, or you can fuck off. That were his words, right? And I said, don't worry about my balls, they're here. Set it up. So we set it up. And what did he do? He ghosted me. So he's a coward, mate. He don't want anybody on there unless they're going to agree with him. So, no, I didn't get an apology, and I won't go on anywhere now. I think he's a knob. Sorry, that answered the question, Pat.
This was good.
I think that just about covered it, but you need to stop sitting on the fence, mate. It doesn't suit you.
I do, mate. Sorry.
This is the point I was going to make. Obviously, Bob Arum would love to keep those 175 belts in-house with Top Rank for as long as he can. I can't.
Epic rant from Jay's Fight Talk. Sorry, Lee.
No, man. I'm a stickler like that. If you make, because I wanted to take.
Are you going again?
No, man.
Hey, I'm just going to sit back.
Like that. I wanted to take my kid out, right? And I upset my kid because I promised I'd take her out to do a Zoom with some sausage that lays on his bed slagging people off. And he didn't have the balls to just message me and say, no, sorry, man, something's come up. Or I don't like you. Or I'm worried because you're not going to agree with me. Man's a div. Fucking prick.
I'll be honest, no one's going to listen to anything I've got to say after that. So, But
come on. Need your thoughts on this. Better be a bit.
Immediate thoughts is it's Bob Arum wanting to keep the belts in-house, but you're not doing it with a 25, 26-year-old undisputed champion. You're doing it with a 40-year-old with a proven track record of getting injured and needing long bouts of inactivity. And if Beterbiev does take an interim fight, gets injured, and that means we never get to see the rematch between him and Bivol, it would be one of the biggest disappointments in boxing history. And I know that's a big claim to make, but that's the reality. We deserve to see at least one more time Bivol and Beterbiev get into the squared circle together.
But what if one of them loses clean as well? What if one of them genuinely just loses to someone?
Yeah, that was my next point. If Bivol goes out and loses to a hands-picks opponent, or Beterbiev body finally catches up with him and he can't fight again, it's ludicrous. Look, Beterbiev retiring or Bivol is the only logical reason I will ever accept for them to not fighting each other again immediately, is one of them retiring. Beterbiev is the more likely for me to retire than Bivol. I think Bivol will want to prove himself and come again and hold more belts than he's held before, because he's only ever had the WBA, of course. But I'm not going to accept it not happening because one of them gets injured in an interim fight. Retirement's the only way I don't accept seeing that rematch.
Yeah,
straight away.
I agree, but I think it's being silly. Sorry.
No, and it proves the point that this rematch is only going to happen in Saudi. Look, again, nothing against it happening in Saudi, but if the reality is we have to wait until this time next year to see the
Shouldn't
rematch.
be dictating.
FTBF's another year older, and he's not, like you say, he's not 26. You know, the man's going to be 40 by the time.
Virtually immediately. They should be doing it first quarter of next year. This is the problem with Saudi now. Fights are going to get postponed to be put on Saudi cards. That shouldn't be happening. Just put the fights on when the fights need to be put on.
I agree. Put it this way: what other high-profile Saudi fighters had an immediate rematch this year? We're just talking about it for half an hour. Fury and Usyk. I'm pretty sure. Did Usyk not break his jaw, or he broke something? Did he not?
The rumor from Fury was that he'd broken his jaw, but Usyk came out and said, other than the bruising and the swelling, I'm fine. Yeah. I'm fine.
Well, put it this way, Put it this way, that was a much more grueling fight than Beterbiev and Bivol, wasn't it? Fury and Usyk. Fury got badly hurt. Usyk, you could tell that he was, beat up a little bit as well after the fight. Both men took some hellacious shots. Beterbiev and Bivol, Bivol's face was a little bit, marked up and stuff. Beterbiev looked like he'd barely been in a fight. Just looked like he'd been on a 5K or something. But neither man was. That I know of anyways, got any long-standing injury from it. So why do we get a Fury Usyk rematch within 7 months and then we have to wait over a year for Beterbiev and Bivol? I don't understand it.
I think that's what'll put paid to it. I think, Beterbiev's got half a foot out the door. I know they're talking about him going up to cruiser, and I don't believe he wants to do that. I think the guy is a humble guy. He's proved himself at the weight division. He's always been comfortable at. I think if it's not done within 6 months, then we probably will never see the rematch. And to be fair, fair play to Beterbiev. He's nearly as old as me, for God's sake. I struggle to fight sleep, let alone get myself up for an absolute dogfight. I know it's hard to believe that he's nearly as old as me, but
are you not in the running for the Misfits Undisputed Championship? No.
I don't think anyone wants this smoke.
Not your mate, no. Not your mate.
That's what I want to see. Get out on a Misfits, Will.
That was well on Misfits.
Right, listen to me. He's about 10 years older than me for a start off, right? He does not want some of this. If he really doesn't, someone's willing to pay me then.
Is this an official call out? Can we tag Misfits in this?
No, I don't call anyone out. Why would I call some? Champions don't call people out.
Who's the A side?
I'll make a Come on. I'll make a voluntary if he wants to come and try some for this smoke. In all seriousness, though, if he does want to fight me, I'll fight him, no fucking problem. But for money, not for free. Not for free unless it's in my back garden.
Is he not in a mandatory position? No.
No one's in a man. I fight for money, not legacy. Unless you want to
stop calling you Jay Fury.
Garden.
I love it.
One more boy. For God's sake.
No, of course not. We don't condone violence. Absolutely. One more before we wrap up, boys. Bob Arum in an interview.
Dog in my back garden, so you'd lose. And we may, Bob
Arum in an interview this week said that the Saudi show, or the Riyadh season show, should I say, outside of Saudi, are no longer going to be. He's heard. Do you believe that, and what do you make of it if true?
He's probably right on that, Bob. We've said it, the three of us on here, that Turkey done a show in LA and a show in Wembley as much to quieten the noise that was coming from casuals or people that were talking about sports washing and it being in Saudi, etc. So he's done that now. Turkey doesn't give a crap what anyone thinks or says about him. He does what he wants to do. He's been dictated to twice now and had to take the show on the road. And if we're honest, probably lost hefty amounts of money.
I'd say Wembley probably did okay. Obviously, a sellout plus I'd say the pay-per-view, especially in the UK, that was big. No, it felt big.
Wembley was probably better than LA for him, but he's not going to want to do that. Disaster. What he's built in LA. Sorry, what he's built in LA. What he's built in Saudi. What he's built in Riyadh with the Kingdom Arena and everything that goes on in and amongst Riyadh seasons, from the concerts to the boxing to the UFC, etc. He's not going to dilute the product much more. So, look, we don't agree with a lot that Mad Bob says, but on this occasion, you have to say he's right. That if we do see a Riyadh season event outside of Riyadh in 2025, we'll be very surprised, and they would probably more likely be in the UK than them going back to America.
Yeah, well, we've already been told about 2 Riyadh season shows, or in Riyadh in 2025, the 5 versus 5 on February the 22nd, and Better Be Evan Bivol to open up Riyadh season in 2025. So we're already aware of 2 shows already. Now, I don't know. Luca, I heard that LA did less than 100,000 pay-per-view buys, and I'm pretty sure somebody reliable got the numbers out on that. Now, if that is the case for how much money Crawford would have been paid, and Jarrell Miller and Andy Ruiz were on the card. There were some good names on that card. Jared Anderson was Bob was saying that Jared Anderson was, coerced essentially into fighting Martin McCauley. I don't know if you boys saw that.
Whose fault's that, Bob?
Of course he was.
Whose fault's that, Bob?
Yeah.
You can't say that, Bob.
You dangle millions of dollars in a 24-year-old's face. What do you think he's going to do?
You got forced to do it. Shut up, Bob. That's your job. You shouldn't have let him take it then. Jeez.
Oh, you guarantee, though, if Jared Anderson won that fight, he'd be saying it was the best move ever. I love Uncle Turkey. Give me more. Give me more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, like we say, you don't often agree with a lot that comes out of Bob Aaron's mouth, but the stage he's at now. But yeah, Pat's comment here.
It was about 400,000, Luca. Yeah, something like that was ridiculously low.
Me and Pat spoke about this on social media over the weekend. I don't see him going to Vegas. The Noche UFC show was incredible.
He did that, didn't he?
But that was a one and done deal. Turkey said himself that's what he could see himself doing in Vegas across Fight Sports. He's not.
Yeah.
What excites him about going? Okay, he could do the Raid. He could do Allianz Stadium, and that's 60,000 where the Raiders play. But nothing's going to excite. He needs something big for that. He needs Canelo.
Massive.
Canelo's not playing ball with him.
Liam, you beat me to the punch. That is the point. The biggest fighters in America commercially at the moment, Canelo Alvarez, Tank's up there, Ryan Garcia is up there as well. Probably, I don't know, is there anyone else you can think of off the top of your head?
You ain't filling a stadium with Tank or Ryan Garcia.
No, you're not, unless they fight each other. No, Canelo's the guy.
Yeah. He didn't fill out LA, did he? He didn't fill out the BMO Crawford, so he's not going to do it in Vegas.
Yeah,
and Turkey equally is not going to want to go into the T-Mobile or the MGM or something like that. That's not big enough for his vision. So I can understand where you're coming from, Pat. It's the sporting capital of the world, but he's got his playground in Saudi. Wembley showed him something, and that will probably bring him back to the UK if he is going to do it.
Because we can, with the right fights, we can fill a stadium, can't we? But Americans are not really, for boxing, they don't fill stadiums like we do.
No one does.
I know what Turkey's got in his pocket. £50 notes and gold bars, mate.
Yeah, if Eddie and Canelo can work something out, I'm pretty sure Canelo's deal's done with PBC after the Balanga fight.
It was a 3-fight deal. The third fight was Balanga, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he wants.
We talk like this is Turkey's cash. The government Saudi was telling him what he can do.
We're not. I don't actually believe that Uncle Turkey's got a checkbook, but he's backed. But he's the mouthpiece, isn't he? As such,
he's the chairman of the General Entertainment Authority. I think you call it. Is that his title?
That's his official title, Sam. There you go. You're on the payroll now, mate. You got that one on.
There you go. Yeah. That like Dev Sani there.
Luke is right. We know it's not Turkey's money. We know the Saudi government are telling him this is the budget you've got. This is what you want you to go out and do. But you're also got to realize that Turkey has a lot to say. They've given him the budget. They've given him the money. He's grown a product from a gimmick fight in Fury and Ngannou to doing 2 undisputed fights in Saudi in the same year, which is ridiculous to think the growth from Fury and Ngannou to Beterbiev Bivol. The growth is huge. But yeah, this is the question as well. 5 years max.
Still get bored. I mean, we said this about football.
5 years.
Until enough people are traveling on holiday to Saudi Arabia for them to.
Can I ask one serious question about Saudi, though? One serious question. When are we going to see Prince Patel headline a Riyadh season card?
Yeah, I told you, man. The Prince is back. He's fighting in a car park.
He's defending his sports
147 IBU
Sports Centre belt.
He liked my tweet the other day. Actually, I'm going to tell you.
I think he's the unified sports centre champion, but he's
he's
also
one in a billion. One in a billion, Jay.
Nightclub champion as well. I think.
I need to tell you what.
Turkey can't afford Prince Patel. He's even more than Canelo, than Tank, than flipping any of them. He can never afford Prince Patel. He'll stay in those car parks.
Chocolate, and not got enough chocolate buttons to pay him, though.
Not at all. You have to bring out the white chocolate buttons. Prince Patel won't do that.
I will say, right, he's actually stealing a living because he's actually not half bad, but he's battering Hungarians and Africans in random places, and he's got about 20 belts. Not one of them is recognised. Not one of them's recognised outside of the sanctioning body that sanctioned it for that £50 fight.
Look, Jay, I'll have you know that the announcement was, sorry, Liam, I have to get this. It's hilarious. The announcement was, it's live on DAZN with a face destined for TV. I'm going to be live on DAZN. Prince Patel versus Maxwell Awuku, who's 50-5, 34 KOs. Prince Patel is for, in his words, the IBF and WBA 147 welterweight titles from the Buckram Arena, Accra, Ghana. But then when you look a little bit deeper, it's for the IBF Continental Africa / WBA Pan Africa Welterweight Championship. He's got the audacity. He's got the audacity to say IBF and WBA.
Ben Shalom, that is clever marketing, brother. That is how you sell a brand.
Oh, because Prince Patel got carried out of the flipping York Hall at the Charlie Edwards Asomba fight when he got too close to Sonny Edwards. So
he got a good hiding outside, I heard.
Yeah, he did.
Allegedly.
Look, fighters do what they do, but if we ever see Prince Patel in Saudi, let's break him down.
He's comfortable with what he's doing. There's a snooker as well. I mean, we've got the Ronnie O'Sullivan, Saudi.
Darts. It's a great time to be a sportsman, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looking for my career, mate.
When are we going to get the Riyadh podcast?
Riyadh season, Prince Patel.
No punches pulled. We'll be the face of Riyadh season.
Oh, Luca, Jesus Christ! Yeah,
Luca.
Broken Sam. Sam is broken up the top. He's had it. Finish the geezer off.
You can buy him anywhere.
It's taken 10 weeks, Trey.
Belt somewhere. I've got a small one as well, somewhere in house.
All I heard is I've got a small one there.
No, I meant I've got a couple of WBC replicas. I've got
okay, right, there we go.
It's about that big.
No doubt Prince Patel will be trying to fight for that in his next fight in Ghana or wherever he's.
He won't pay more sanctions fees, mate.
Right back in the day, I really thought that we'd have got the one of the Edwards because he's boxing in amateurs, but they've just gone in completely different directions, haven't they?
Some of them want to fight outside of little car parks and actually in arenas, so that does help.
Oh, it sure does. Right, boys, we'll wrap it up there for this week. That was a good, very good show. Massive thank you to Jay and Liam as always for making the show. So it's Chris Eubank Jr. Yeah,
Chris Eubank Jr. is the GOAT of Moody Belts. I'll give him that title. He's the
well, him and Prince Patel are both unified.
They're up there as on my pound-for-pound Moody belt list.
Yeah,
definitely.
I want to hear the top five of that, mate. That's the conversation for next week. Jay's top five Moody belt list.
Yeah, that is a good topic actually. Massive thanks to Luca, DJ Pat, regular listeners. Timothy joined us earlier. Thanks, Timothy. Morkan was there. Joseph joined us a little bit earlier as well. I'm just thinking the schedule for the rest of the week. We'll have a little look at obviously this presser tomorrow. If there's anything worth looking at, we'll perhaps hop on for a bit of post presser action. We'll maybe do a who wins and how breakdown for Catterall and Prograis. Any UFC fans will maybe look at doing something for 308.
This weekend. Is it UFC on this weekend? Is the UFC on this weekend? Is there? Oh, I forgot. Fucking hell, boys. You were slow on that one, weren't you?
Mate, you froze, lads. We were looking at a pixelated screen.
Oh, dear. So we'll definitely get something out for that because there's a huge card there. But we'll try and balance the two watch-alongs. We'll be UFC in it, and I think the main card for the UFC I saw earlier starts at 7 p.m. So I believe that will mean around about a 9:30 main event in the UFC. So if Taylor and always say Taylor, Jay, Catterall and Prograis
Yeah.
Well, it depends though, because Eddie's been running with 9 o'clock main events, or his big thing is 9 o'clock main events, isn't it?
Wasn't it last one?
Yeah.
9:45.
Yeah, Harper and Rhiannon Dixon was like 9ish, wasn't it, or whatever? But I think he's talked about that.
They're going up. I mean, I know it's, but they'll come unstuck because it's a massive UFC card. So they'll come.
Eddie's smart though, isn't he? Eddie would realise that. I think
he'll stagger it, or he'll pull it forward, or they'll manipulate the timings, to get it right. But
with how strong the UFC card is, it's a bad move to go up against that on Saturday night.
Yeah, they're fighting a losing battle in my opinion if they go directly up against the UFC. Because if I had to choose between the two fights, I'd flip to TNT.
I know what.
Yeah,
UFC is too strong for this weekend. But yeah, we'll hopefully get watch-alongs on all of them.
We will,
no doubt. We'll be previewing. We'll be previewing X, Y, and Z between now and then. But yeah, big up Jay, big up Liam. Go follow at Jay's Fight Talk. I think did you change your name on X earlier? Change something. You lost your tick.
Oh no, I just took my first name off there. And just
right. You kept that Jay's Fight Talk then, okay?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just took Jason off. I shortened it to Jay. That's all.
Cool. Good stuff. Jay's Fight Talk YouTube channel as well. Make sure you go and check that out at Liam_Tully9, and make sure you check out his Catterall and Prograis prediction. Liam's Fight Night Picks show out lunchtime. Liam, tomorrow.
Yeah, be out at lunchtime tomorrow, definitely.
Who's on it this week, Liam? Mr. Neutral.
Mr. Neutral. I've got Mr. Neutral on.
They got Mr. Neutral representing iBoxing Hub. Good, great boxing channel, great boxing guy, Mr. Neutral. So look out for that. Luca Chimmerman tomorrow when Yammer Boxing Power pick the UFC. Yeah, very strong card this week.
I mean, the card's stacked from top to bottom, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge card this Saturday. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for both of that. As always, boys, been a pleasure doing it again this week. We'll probably be back tomorrow because we're back most days these days. But we live for it. Great conversations. Thanks everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you same time next week.
Cheers, everybody.